Nobody? Nothing?
What up, what up, what up, sports fans all over the world? It is your boy, Mac the Giants fan. I'm here with my guys, the Horsemen, NYG Jeffy T, Zion Zenith, Adam Costas. Y'all know what it is. It's the Premium Takes Podcast. What is going on? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. This is the Horsemen. We are here to deliver another edition of the Premium Takes Podcast, guys. How y'all doing today, man?
Doing well, doing well. Hope all y'all doing well too. Hope you're enjoying your weekend and you're enjoying some good old-fashioned NBA playoff basketball, y'all.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you
That's
from
right.
my fellow horseman as well, coming together on a Sunday. Have to say, Jeff, I love that background, by the way. Let's go, Brooklyn. What's up, Taj? Thank you for being here, and let's get the show started.
Sure as hell didn't show it yesterday.
Thanks for being here. Playoff basketball is upon us, and let's get it rolling.
Well, as you heard my fellow horsemen just say, the NBA playoffs are off and running off to a fiery start. Yesterday, man, we got the things kicked off with the Sixers and the Brooklyn Nets. You know, how y'all feel about that, Jeff? Let's talk about it, bro.
Oh, it was disgusting. It was disgusting to watch in the second half, especially. They kept it close at least. It was close throughout the game. But the Nets just played way too much ISO basketball on offense. They were too busy chasing on the outside on the defense. Philadelphia could not miss from the outside. They made 21 three-point shots. Besides Mikal Bridges and I guess a little bit of Cam Johnson, nobody else on offense really showed up at all. It was the Joel Embiid and James Harden show, which made me sick that Harden got a triple-double in that game yesterday. And the Nets, they got to really do a better job taking care of the basketball in this second game. They got to do a better job of getting their teammates the ball in transition, getting them some better open shots, stop playing ISO one-on-one basketball. Adam made a great point when we were doing the live stream yesterday. This team plays like Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant are still on the team, when in reality, they're not. So, I mean, this team is they're adopting the philosophy that they have superstars that are capable of breaking down defenses one-on-one, and they don't have that. They're a three-point shooting basketball team that needs to get the ball on the outside. And then you have somebody like Dinwiddie who can penetrate to the hole, go into the basket. And then Bridges, who's still developing his offensive game, although he was great yesterday. So the Nets have got to do a better job taking care of the basketball. They got to do a better job with their shot selection. They got to do a better job on the outside on defense. They got to change up their defensive philosophy because what they did yesterday, it didn't work.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself, Jeff. But the thing that irks me about when you play a team like the Nets, if you watch what's happening across the NBA, even if they do get into their half-court set, the guys are moving. The problem with the Nets is they had flat feet. They weren't moving. They weren't creating off the dribble to allow second-chance opportunities. And then, of course, they're getting beat on offensive rebounds. That's another thing that you know, gets
I'm sorry to interrupt you. There's breaking news. Tyler Hero apparently broke his hand. Just broke.
Yeah, Jesus.
Tyler Hero just broke his hand.
Well, that's unfortunate news for the Heat. Yeah. But the Nets, what they need right now is a good player to come up and step up for them. Everybody across the NBA has had someone do that. They've had someone facilitate, right? You're also not going to win with 17 turnovers. That's not going to help you. The Nets weren't ready for the moment. They didn't play good offensive basketball, and then when they didn't play that good offensive basketball, what would happen is they would not be able to be back on defense. So then they would give up the easy bucket down at the other end, and that's what's plaguing the Nets in the late third into the fourth quarter, and that's when they lost the game because once they got out of their flow, once they started to double team, triple team Bridges, and they had no real guy who could create on the dribble off his own. Like Dinwiddie can do it, but if Dinwiddie gets slowed down, it's a lot harder for him than when he takes the ball up and he just starts to attack the basketball. So for me, the Nets have to do a couple things. Don't turn the ball over as much. You're going to turn it over. Don't turn it over as much. Play better defense because that's going to allow you to get more rebounds. Okay, you can't be outboarded in this game. All right, Joel Embiid had a field day inside, just rebound after rebound, second chance after second chance, and it's like you're not going to win a basketball game like that. And finally, attack on offense. The only way you're going to be able to create your own shots and get to the foul line, because Joel Embiid at one point was 8 of 8 from the free throw line, and he was 5 of 10 from the field, which means he wasn't really having a great shooting night, but he was having a fantastic night at the line and getting charity stripe. If you're going to keep doing that and giving away free points, you also have to attack on the other end to try to get free points of yourself, because free throws are an equalizer in a game. If you make them, that could be what puts you over the top.
And the thing that makes it so frustrating, Adam, is that what is this Nets team based on? 3-point shooting. Curry, Johnson. Cam Johnson was making shots. Why wasn't he getting the ball more? His shots were falling down. Was Dorian Finney-Smith even in the second half? I don't even remember him playing. I know he's not a great player. I mean, we're not saying he's the savior, but he can make 3-point shots. Dinwiddie. I mean, where was Edmund Sumner? Maybe we have to dust off Cam Thomas because we need somebody that could give us a spark offensively, because if they keep doing the type of offensive philosophy they did yesterday, this team is going to lose in 5 games or could get swept. Where's
Cam Johnson from again? Are those him and Bridges from
Phoenix? He came from Phoenix. He scored 18 last night.
So let me tell you, the 2 guys on the team that had the best outcome are the 2 guys with the most playoff experience. Okay, that's what happened. So those 2 guys came to play, Bridges and Johnson. So you saw that. And I think with the rest of the team, even though Dinwiddie's been in the play, had flirted with the playoffs with his other teams, I don't think they are ready. I don't think it just felt like the Nets did not have an answer for anything that they did. They couldn't change up defensively. They didn't understand how to get a damn rebound. All right. When they had their opportunity, they had 3 or 4 guys standing at the 3-point line, not penetrating to the basket. And you can't win basketball games when you have nobody underneath to grab a board. And then they would turn around, Philadelphia, run down court, and find the cutter, find the guy in the basket. Because then on defense, we lost our spacing. And it's just like the Nets need to come out and play competent basketball, and they might have a chance.
The defense is horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous to watch the time.
Looks like they need more production from the bench in general, man. Seth Curry led the way off the bench with 10 points. Really, nobody else on the bench seem to come in and do much of anything, provide much of anything. They need a lot more help from their bench players, because I don't think their starters alone don't stand up well to the Sixers team necessarily. They need a lot more production from guys off that bench to help them power through this, get through this series.
They have to play above.
That's where I see those.
Yeah, the bench was horrible yesterday. Royce O'Neal, who's actually been a good spark plug off the bench for this team for the most part, his shot wasn't falling yesterday. I mean, Day'Ron Sharpe, bless his heart, he actually had some decent minutes out there, but he has no offensive game right now. He's not going to handle somebody like Embiid. I mean, Joe Harris and Seth Curry, they are so one-dimensional. If they're not hitting their threes, they are useless on the court. They can't play defense. They're not good at facilitating the ball. They don't rebound. All they are is spot-up 3-point shooters.
Joe Harris does nothing.
Now there's Curry. If their shots
they don't do anything.
They can't do anything. They're useless. They
don't even have a mid-range game. They're like a lot of these teams have guys who can take mid-range jumpers. I mean, look at what Miami right now. I don't want to spoil it too much. They're penetrating the basket, and guys are cutting underneath. That's getting open. The Nets are standing at the 3-point line, hoping that someone's going to make a shot.
They're like, I'm here. Throw the ball out to me. I'm open on the outside. That's all.
And then that makes it too easy for the defense, because then they're not worried about you cutting, right? So they can get an extra defender towards the ball. That's the reason why Bridges is getting covered by 3 men, is because there's nobody cutting underneath the hoop.
I feel bad for Claxton too, because I think Claxton is a good player. It's just the problem is I think they try to hope he could be more of an offensive guy. And the reality is Claxton's role on this team is he's a defensive style center where he's going to go out there, block shots. He's going to rebound the basketball. He's going to get you your dunks and alley-oops and stuff, but he's not going to go out there and have a great mid-range game like some of these other centers in the NBA, like a Jaren Jackson and Adebayo.
Yes, but you have to have – the problem is these kids they can't play both ends of the floor sometimes. And they get so far in their head, like, if you can't do anything for me, then dominate rebounds. If you can't score, get rebounds, steals, play defense. If you're going to score and you want to lack on defense, then give me something on the offensive end. Because when you give me nothing, it doesn't help.
Which is a shame because Claxton's actually
all right. All right, fellas. Zion, you got anything on this matchup? Or do you want?
No, they said that. They said that perfectly. Let's move on. Let's get it.
It's more about
all right. Let's go to what was probably easily, probably, in my opinion, yesterday was the most laughable basketball game yesterday. The Atlanta Hawks traveling to Boston, taking on the number 2 seeded Boston Celtics. Man, I mean, this final score was not indicative of how lopsided this game was. This game was absolutely lopsided. The Boston Celtics just murdered the Atlanta Hawks. They're up, 30 at like halftime, I believe. Something like that. How y'all feel about this matchup? And do you feel like the Hawks have any chance of getting back into this series?
Hell no. This is probably the worst first-round matchup out of any series so far in this first. The Hawks should be thanking their lucky stars that they had such a great shooting night against the Miami Heat. I'm sorry, the Heat couldn't hit a shot that game because this is a horrible matchup for the Hawks. Dejounte Murray is a solid two-way guard. I think he's the best player on that team. Yeah, I said it. I think he's the best player on that team, not Trae Young. Trae Young, to me, if he's not getting a shot to fall, you're not really – I think he's a decent guy when it comes to assisting the ball, but his defense is something to be desired. John Collins, I'm surprised the guy hasn't gone traded yet. He's so inconsistent. He's always injured. Capella is more of a defensive center. DeAndre Hunter, he's all right, but I mean – that Celtics team is like a well-oiled machine. That's such a bad matchup for that Hawks team. I would not be shocked that that's a 4-game sweep. I like you said, Mac, before, I'm shocked it was even that close at the end of the day. That Hawks team doesn't have the personnel to be able to handle a Jaylen Brown, a Jason Tatum, a Marcus Smart, Robert Williams, Al Horford, Malcolm Brogdon, Derek White. It's just too much firepower on that Celtics team for that Hawks team to be able to handle defensively, and this is gonna get ugly. Wouldn't be surprised if the same thing happens in game 2 and it ends up being a quick 4-game sweep. It's gonna get bad.
Yeah,
nice, Randy. Nice, bro.
To just stay real fast. Absolutely, Jeff is 100% facts. This is like a little warm up before the playoffs actually get started for Boston. You know, Boston just treating this as let's get our things rolling, let's get things off of our feet, and that's all I have to say about this game.
Well, I mean, Boston is showing why.
I think it's pretty awesome. Go ahead.
I think Boston is showing.
I was just going to say.
Go, Mac.
I'm sorry. Mac. Go ahead, finish, Adam. No, I was just going to say it was pretty awesome how Boston only ran an 8-man rotation yesterday and still just didn't even fatigue, didn't seem to play into anything. They just went out there and rolled these guys.
They're ready.
3 off the bench. Yeah. 5 starters and 3 off the bench.
Seems like Boston is this is a tune-up for them, right? We know how good they are. They're not really worried about this team. They're worried about the Eastern Conference Finals because that's what they're playing for. We'll see who gets there. I think they're the best team in the best all-around team, but it depends on Tatum. I really believe that team goes as well as he goes. If he has a bad shooting night, it really does affect the entire team. So right now they're playing against an inferior team. Woo! They should do away with them, and yeah.
Celtics and Hawks is gonna be like the
I mean, as far as this Hawks team go, I mean, I feel like they can only go as far as Trae Young can lead them. And Trae Young had a horrible shooting game yesterday. It was 5 of 18. This is not going to get it done for their superstar, man. So they're gonna need to channel something if they have any chance of making this series even look.
Mackie ran into that dude named Marcus Smart. That's what happened to Trae Young. Marcus Smart is a defensive player of the year for a reason. That's why he had such a bad game. Because Marcus Smart locked him down the entire time.
Oh, well, all right. So we can move on, obviously, to a much, much better game. The number 4 Cleveland Cavaliers hosting the number 5 New York Knicks. And this was a great game yesterday, man. Some great performances from a lot of great young talent, man, on both these teams. Donovan Mitchell did all he could yesterday. Cleveland still came up a little bit short, but it was a great effort from the New York Knicks, man. Jalen Brunson, Julian Randle, these guys, man, were just out there showing off, and showing out, man. And it paid off big time. My Villanova connection, Brunson and Josh Hart, man. Let's go, baby. Villanova Wildcats, Villanova's finest right there, doing the damn thing in the NBA playoffs right now, man. Jalen Brunson, I couldn't tell you how proud I am of that kid, man. He got off to a kind of slow start with his NBA career, man, but he's found his stride now here in New York, man. And it's just good to see Jalen Brunson doing the great things he's doing out there. And I can't wait to see what else he's got in store for us, man. We play in this series. This is going to be a great series, by the way. I think this series may just go 7, might go the distance, man. So what you guys think about that game 1 yesterday?
I'll let you go real fast, Jeff.
Go ahead.
Absolutely, thank you. I didn't watch this game. I barely caught the end of it. So that's why I'm gonna go first, and I'll let Jeff and Adam break it down for you guys. Great take, Mac. And I know when a lot of Knicks fans, they was wondering why, everybody wanted Mitchell. Everybody thought like Damian was gonna leave Portland. Like everybody on the Knicks needed that player, right? And when they paid Brunson, everybody was wondering like why so much money. Now you guys understand. When it comes into the playoffs, now you guys understand, and throughout the whole season, basically, Brunson and the one thing that I did want to point out, and this is basically what I wanted to make my point about. I do want Adam and Jeff to get more in detail about this. One thing I noticed watching, I probably watched the last 5 minutes of the game. Towards the end of the game, seeing all the Knicks players lined up at the 3, right, and then the shot goes up. And just seeing how Randall just dominates himself, gets in position, and rebounds the ball. Like, just the effort by the Knicks. And I want to ask Jeff and Adam, like, was that energy there all night? Just the effort, you know what I'm saying? Who had the momentum and was that energy? Did the Knicks show the energy all night like they did in that final 2 minutes?
Well, I think I'll give you two. I'll give you one person who I think I can attribute to their energy from, and that's their coach, Thibodeau. Okay, the guy's been a solid coach. He had to build something. Knicks fans were wavering. Is this guy what we need? And yes, he is what you need. Last night was the best I've seen a Knicks basketball team play in years. They had defense. They scored big buckets in a timely manner, and their stars came to play. And they looked like they were a well-coached basketball team out there. So I'm going to give my hats off to Thibodeau because I don't think he gets enough credit for doing the things that he's done, for being the basketball savant. Remember, he took a Bulls team to the Eastern Conference Finals with Derrick Rose, and they had some good teams after that. He just needed time to build, and you're starting to see it. And Brunson is what the Nets lack. They lack a guy who can create a shot, create a basket, without Brunson, the Knicks don't win that game. That's how phenomenal that kid played. Okay. And not to mention good defense on the other end, because when you give up 14 turnovers in a game and you only give up 6 points off of those turnovers, that means you're playing hella defense, right? And you can say whatever you want about, the Cavs not being, Mobley not making his shots. And I'm sure those will go down. I'm sure those are nerves. I'm sure in the next game, you're going to see him have a better production game because, again, those Cavaliers have never played. You saw Donovan Mitchell, though. Big game experience. Guy dropping 40, still out there, still doing his thing. So what I think the Knicks need to do in order to win this game, keep the energy going. That's one thing. Play great defense and make sure you limit the turnovers because that will come back to bite you in the end. Don't let the 6 points fool you. When you have 14 turnovers in a game or plus that, they had more turnovers going forward. That'll eventually will derail your team.
I mean, absolutely. I think the Cavs, they might have the young talent on their roster to be able to take advantage of some of the mistakes that the Knicks made in a normal night because the Knicks made a lot of mistakes last night. Julius Randle and RJ Barrett were turning the ball over at an absolutely alarming rate for a lot of the time. And I can understand why Knicks fans are so frustrated when it comes to a player like Julius Randle because he goes out there and he does some great hustle plays. He goes out there and he's a good low post offensive player, and he's good at rebounding. But he does some infuriating things that make Knicks fans nuts. But I mean, Mac, you just pretty much, you should be a proud man right now. I've seen your 3 Villanova Wildcats and how they're playing. I mean, Bridges is emerging like a superstar in the league. Brunson is probably already a superstar in the league, and Hart is just one of those gritty players. All 3 of them are great players coming into their own this year. But Brunson, I mean,
here comes Milwaukee.
Brunson, the Middleton effect. I'm going to say with Milwaukee this game right now, the Middleton effect. But the Brunson right now, you wanted that Knicks team. The Knicks pretty much said, Thibodeau's like, Brunson, we're putting this team on your back, and you're going to go out there and you're going to lead this team to victory. And that's exactly what he did. He made all the right decisions in the end. He made clutch big shots. He got the ball to his teammates for them to get the open shot. The Knicks defense was on point. His stats show it. Mitchell Robinson was an X factor in that game too. And his defense in the interior, Hartenstein made some plays off the bench.
The rebounds.
Toppin. I don't know what the Knicks brass is thinking. I would not trade Obi Toppin for anything. I think he's a good player. What's going on, Earl? Quickly had an off night, but we know how electric that kid is when he has the ball in his hands. I mean, that Knicks team, I think this is going to be a hell of a series, and I think I'm actually picking the Knicks to win. I think the Knicks, because of Brunson and what he's going to be able to do, and if Barrett and Quickly can give them something consistently offensively, that Knicks team is a team to look out for in that Eastern Conference, because I think they have the defensive mentality. I think they have some veteran players on that team that have playoff experience, and then, like you said, they have the coaching. I trust a guy like Tom Thibodeau out there to be able to get his team in the right position to be able to succeed with the players he has on this roster, because he has that old school mentality. So that's exactly why I think the Knicks had a hell of a performance yesterday, and kudos to Thibodeau, kudos to Hart, kudos to Brunson, Randall, that entire team for the job that they did.
It was phenomenal to see them actually do well. And I just feel, to me, the New York Knicks played the type of scary playoff basketball where you're like, man, can they do that magical run and get to the Eastern Conference Finals? And if they do, would they be able to match up well? Because right now you can arguably say they played the best defensive game of all the weekend. So for me, good kudos to the Knicks. I know I'm a Net fan, but the Knicks make the playoffs worth watching when they're in it. You know what I mean? They're part of the, there's certain franchises when they make the playoffs, you're like, man, it feels good that team's in the playoffs. Pittsburgh Steelers are one of them teams. The New York Knicks are one of those teams. So
yeah, Knicks, Lakers, Celtics. When you get those big franchises in the NBA and playing well in the playoffs, it's the best thing for the NBA. You need those major markets to be involved and be a good basketball franchise going forward. And you see it with the Knicks, how they performed yesterday. We'll obviously get into what happened this afternoon, but you need those big market teams to represent your league and be able to be good, staples for your league going forward. And it's great. As much as I don't like the Knicks, obviously as a Nets fan, it's a good thing for the NBA, and it's a good thing when the Knicks are succeeding.
As a basketball
they're the heart of the city. They're the heart of New York City. Basketball is the heart of the city, and when the Knicks are playing well, it's just a different feeling in that city overall.
I agree.
It's a great job by the Knicks going out there, stealing one in Cleveland, taking that home court advantage away from them. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how they fare in game 2, man, this series. But like you said something, Adam, they can't expect Evan Mobley to come out and have the kind of game he had yesterday in game 2. I think Evan Mobley is going to be an X factor in game 2. We'll see how that plays out, man, for the Cleveland Cavaliers. But this is going to be a great series, and I can see it definitely going 7. Man. These are two good young teams, man.
Old school series.
It's going to be fun to watch. Yes. Now let's get to the nightcap last night. The nightcap. Finally, the NBA playoffs have come back to Sacramento, and it was absolutely lit in that arena last night. The Sacramento Kings hosting the Golden State Warriors. This game had everything you could ask for. They had that Kentucky connection going for the Sacramento Kings last night. Malik Monk, and DeAnthony Fox. This was absolutely an amazing game, man. Great performance by these kids, man. And Sacramento, man, getting their first playoff win at home in 17 long years. Long time coming for the Sacramento Kings back in the postseason, man. Good to see them get this game one in at home, defending their home court and still maintaining that home court advantage in this series, man. Guys, what you got on this one last night, man? It was an epic performance, epic game.
Light the beam, baby. I'm getting behind that mantra, baby, because last night the Sacramento Kings, they did light the beam. Okay, let's be honest. That game was up and down the entire time, and there's a shot where you're like, Golden State's going to take this. There's no way this team is overcoming, and they found a way to do it. And let me tell you, the Warriors weren't doing much offensively except chucking moonshots from left and right because I'm sitting there watching the game. The Sacramento Kings would go up, they play defense, and there's Curry throwing a moonshot up, and of course, it splashes. And you're like, dude, how can you play defense when the guys can shoot from 26 feet away? It's like I can't do it. And yet what did they do? They went down, they penetrated, they got the Warriors in foul trouble at the second half of that fourth quarter, and that's what did the Warriors in because at that point they were just too tired to keep up. And let me tell you real quick, the Warriors are a hard out because unlike some teams that might fold, when you got them Splash Brothers on there, man, and they can shoot from the other side of the gym. I feel like every spot on the court you have to defend. There's not a spot you can't defend. On that floor, when they get the ball on their side of the half court, on the offensive side of the half court, you have to defend the entire half court. That's how ridiculous it is to play the Golden State Warriors.
14 times to the foul line, 14 times making a foul shot. Malik Monk, that's what he did last night. You want to talk about being able to break down that Golden State defense? That's exactly what Malik Monk did, including being able to go out there and knock down his three-point shot at a consistent rate. Monk has made such a turnaround in his career. I love seeing it because the fact that this kid was dying out there in Charlotte, and now he's back over there with his buddy in Kentucky, Mr. De'Aaron Fox, who want to talk about a grown-ass man? That dude is a grown-ass man, and he turned into a grown-ass superstar with the way he played last night in that game against the Golden State Warriors. He is one of the best young point guards in this game, and he showcased his ability last night in a big stage. He outplayed Curry, as great as Curry was, and like Adam just said, anyway, you give these guys the smallest space in that court between Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. They're still knocking down those threes. In fact, Curry, he had like the littlest space. He literally stopped and just chucked up a three, and it somehow went in. Thompson did it too. But, I mean, De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk, you want to talk about emerging young stars in this league that went out there and they showcased their abilities? Those two young players really stepped their game up and show that they are going to be a force to be reckoned with. And this Kings team, they are lethal. They are deep. They got a great head coach in Mike Brown. And if this team can find a way to tap into their total talent, and Sabonis didn't even have a great game last night, and that dude is lethal. He's like another Jokic with what he could do on the court with his ability to facilitate the basketball, be a low post presence, shoot the basketball. He's terrific too. Herter had an all. That's the thing about this Kings team what makes them scary is that some of their guys that normally play well, they didn't play well last night. And they still, because of what Monk and Fox did, they still were able to just do enough to take care of that Warriors team. And that Warriors team, they got a heart of a champion. They are going to be a tough out to get out of. And even Draymond Green, who didn't play that great last night, he still had somewhat of an impact on that in that game. So this series is electric. I love this series overall, especially game one was like a small little taste of what you're going to be getting. I think this series, as well as Knicks and Cavs, I think they're both going 7. I think these series are going to be back and forth the entire time. But kudos to what the Kings said. And like Adam just said, like that damn beam. It was a coming out party for those Kentucky boys, De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk.
We're about to see some muscles get swollen in these games. I think you're going to see physicality. You're going to see guys' emotions flying. You're going to see old school playoff basketball right now because that's what it feels like. You know, the Golden State Warriors took a gut punch, man. Like a gut punch, absolute gut punch. And this Kings team just kept fighting. And I don't know what it is, but that to me, that first game told it all to me. They're going to be in this series for the long haul. They're not intimidated by the Golden State Warriors, and they're making the Warriors play outside of their comfort zone, which is what they do. Like when the Warriors can move, like they have the Warriors have like 3 guys, Poole, Thompson, Curry, that can just shoot from anywhere.
Wiggins too.
And let's talk about him. He had a great game, and they still overcame. Defensively, he had a great game. He played 3-pointers. I mean, Andrew Wiggins, to me is an underrated player. I didn't think how good he was. When he came out, he played for Minnesota. He had some ups and downs there, but he really has come into his own. He's like a young Andre Iguodala. He basically got that's basically what they traded him for. They got a guy who is a better shooter, better player, but can also play great defense. And we'll see what happens with the Kings going forward. If Sabonis can come through, I'd like to see him come through. I hope it was just playoff jitters, a little too much pressure in his own head, because you want to see guys like this play well at home. That's what you want to see them do, because home is where you're supposed to be comfortable. If you had that game in Golden State, I'd understand, but you're at home. You gotta come through in game 2. He's a big factor in the series.
I think the Warriors should be sick after what happened to them. I think they really had an opportunity, and they just took up some reckless shots at the end of that game. The nonsensical shots that they thought were just going to fall. I mean, the shot selection by the Warriors was very questionable at the end of that game. And they're probably kicking themselves because they really should have won that game. It was good defense, but some of those shots.
But at the same time,
they were making them too.
At the same time, they had Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins had a wide open shot in the corner. He couldn't sink it. I mean, he was wide open. I mean, that wasn't a bad shot. That would have
a good shot.
Tied the game up or something, I believe. Maybe that was a. And then you had Steph, even at the end, Steph Curry at the end, late there at the end. That last shot. I mean, the fact that he got that kind of a look. I mean, that shot could have easily drained that as well. So, I mean, it's just a great game all across the board. I mean, I think maybe the Warriors need to get a little more offensive production out of another one of their stars, and Draymond Green. That 4 points, he's got to add a little bit more, come with a little bit more to the table than that. Help his team out. Get those hard points in the paint. I mean, I know Sabonis he's nice, he's good, but at the same time, got to get a little more production out of Draymond Green. He did chip in with the 11 assists, 9 rebounds, and everything, but you still need some more. You need a little more scoring out of him right now to help lead the way, because this is a good young Sacramento Kings team, and like you said, they're not intimidated, they're not scared, they're not going anywhere, and right now they still have the home court advantage in this series. They did not lose that last night. We'll see what happens in game 2 if the Warriors can take that away from them in game 2. But this was an incredible performance, man, last night. And like I said, just props to Sacramento getting their first playoff win at home in 17 years. And Fox, man, second all time in scoring in the playoff debut, man. So hats off to that young man. He had a really, really great game.
How old is that kid?
So
26, 27, De'Aaron Fox.
So that took
De'Aaron Fox is he's 20. He'll be 20. He's 25, 26. 25, I mean, 25.
He'll be 26
on his birthday.
December. So it's good. It's good to see a player finally develop and work out for a franchise, and it just goes to show sometimes letting guys develop is what you need. Look at Wiggins. Sometimes guys just can come into their own and be silently good. Now this guy Fox, hopefully a star was born, right? Because a superstar came out last night, and I can't wait to finish this series, boy. This is like a good book. You can't put it down.
Fox has always been a good player. He's just never really had that defining moment. He's really now started to show how great of a player he really is. He's always been good. It's just
now it's showcased on the playoffs.
Yeah, now I was actually showing what he's actually can do. Exactly. And Sabonis is that trade. I don't know if you guys remember that trade real quickly between the Pacers and the Kings that they made with Halliburton going to the Pacers, and then they getting Sabonis. That Sabonis trade has fit that team so perfectly because of his skill set and what he brings to that team going forward. Him and Fox fit so well together on that team. Then get Monk. They have all the pieces necessary to potentially go on a run in the future.
Run in the future, maybe run right now.
Okay,
could be now too. Could be now.
All right, good stuff, great stuff, fellas. And that brings us to today's action. You only got one game that's gone final so far. and that is the Lakers, a number 7 seed. Los Angeles Lakers took out the number 2 seed Memphis Grizzlies, and the Grizzlies are in trouble. It looks like Ja Morant going down. We'll have to find out the status of him going forward the rest of this series. But it was not good. He had to leave the game with an injury. The Lakers led off the bench by a guy who I can't even pronounce his damn name.
Oh, Hachimura? Right,
yeah, Hachimura, that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Rai Hachimura, yes, led off the bench, 29 big points off the bench for the Los Angeles Lakers, man. Lakers still in the home court advantage away from the Memphis Grizzlies. How do you think the Lakers stack up to the Grizzlies the rest of this way, especially if Ja Morant can't play the rest of this series?
I mean, if Ja Morant's out, I mean, it sounds like that he might be doubtful for the game 2 at least. Luckily, it didn't come out. He broke his wrist because the way he fell, first thing when I saw him, like, oh, God, the dude just broke his wrist when he fell awkwardly in that move. So, I mean, they better knock on wood like Adam just did. Just knock on wood that, like, he's not out for the rest of the series or they're dead. Because Jaren Jackson Jr. is a terrific center, but they need more from, like, a Desmond Bane. They need more from a Dylan Brooks. They're already without Steven Adams at center and Brandon Clark. So they're already without a couple of key pieces on that team. But if you lose Ja, that could be game, set, match. And Hachimura, since he got traded from the Washington Wizards, he's fitting so well with that Los Angeles Lakers team. And Austin Reeves. Adam just talked about a little bit before. Austin Reeves. We got a kid that's starting to, like, emerge as a really good young player in this league. I mean, he went out there. He was controlling that team, with the shooting on the outside. He went 8 for 13, 3 for 5 from the three-point line, 23 key points. I mean, LeBron James, he didn't have to go out there and light it up scoring, but he got 21 and 11. Anthony Davis, who they gave him a scare when he got hurt, where he was, like, holding on to his arm. I thought that it was, like, going to be the end of Anthony Davis at that point. He came in and still was able to get a double-double, 22 points, 12 rebounds. So, I mean, the Lakers, since they got LeBron and Davis back, they're starting to come into their own, and they're becoming a very scary team at that 7 seed, and especially with Ja now questionable for possibly the rest of the series. I think the Lakers have control of this series now. It's all going to depend on what's going to happen with Ja, but I would not be shocked if the Lakers take this series now because I don't know what the Grizzlies are going to be able to do without Ja Morant. That's taking a major piece out of your offense if he's not going to be able to come back in this series at all. So, yeah, I just think it's just a great job by the other players on this team, like an Hachimura, like a Reeves, like a D'Angelo Russell and a Dennis Schroeder that stepped up their games today, and obviously Davis and LeBron doing their things too.
Absolutely. Got anything, Adam? Zion? You got anything on this one?
The Lakers look pretty good right now. We'll see what the injuries do to Memphis. And it always seems, it's funny, like the Lakers get a team that's a little banged up, they might move on because this team is, they're the Memphis Grizzlies. They're not 100% a powerhouse. They've been here before, but let's be honest, without their star kind of spacing the floor, you saw what happened. I think the Lakers, to me, watching the Laker game today, I was like, wow, they actually have players that when LeBron leaves, they may still be able to compete a little bit, when he does move on at some point. Because I'm telling you right now, LeBron's looking his age a little bit. I mean, he is making shots, but clearly, he's not there. He hasn't had that statement game like he normally has in the playoffs where he's dropping like 40 and having a double and dunking on everybody. This game kind of like he picked and chose his battles. He took a three-pointer that I didn't think was going to go in, but somehow went in. He took like a 25-footer, and you're like, what is he doing? And it, of course, went swish. But we'll see. We'll see what happens as we go forward. But I think that the Memphis Grizzlies are in trouble. Zion?
Yeah. Well said. That was basically going to be my point as well. Like, just basically with Ja Morant, looking at Memphis, I don't think they have the manpower. I don't think they have the bench. Like, yeah, they could come on and play great basketball, but you're gonna have to play damn near perfect basketball. Now, Thank you for the Lakers scare, like Jeff mentioned, because honestly, like Stephen A was saying at the half, like if Anthony Davis didn't come back into that game, I don't even think Anthony Davis puts on the Lakers jersey next year. You know what I'm saying? And that being said, like we're lucky he did, and I want to see the Lakers, make a run because honestly, I want to see the best basketball. Hopefully, John Morant can make his way back, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. And I don't think the Memphis Grizzlies without John Morant has the manpower to compete with the Lakers.
I will say one thing real quickly. Jaren Jackson Jr. is a terrific center. I didn't think he was as good as he was offensively. Dude had 31 points today, and he was a menace in the middle of that court. So if Morant has to miss some time, that's the dude that's got to really start stepping his game up because Jaren Jackson Jr. is a lot better than I thought he was. That dude is a monster in the center position for that Memphis team.
They got it down there playing.
What number is he again? What number was he again?
I think he's 13.
Okay.
He's really good. Like he put up 31 points today, and he's like I think he's one of the leaders for Defensive Player of the Year. He's terrific.
What I want to see more of is more in-game adjustments by coaches. I feel like they're letting a lot of teams get hot, and I feel like in the old school days you would hard foul that player, or you'd do something within the rules to kind of shake the momentum up a bit because that's what I feel is missing from some of these games, like with the Warriors, like the Kings. I think what they needed to do, and I don't want to be mean, but give a little shiver, give a little physicality to Curry, make them earn the shots next time, make them go up and be physical because I think that's what's going to take them out of their games, right? And with the Lakers have length. If you play right into their hands, if you don't body them up, they low posted LeBron James for the first time in a while. So you got to figure out how you're going to defend him because he can't be. LeBron James is not a low posting player. If he's doing that to you, that's bad news because he doesn't like to low post unless he absolutely has to. So figure out how to get him out of the paint area and open it up a bit for you, and you might be able to secure a victory because that's what you need to do. When you got guys crashing the boards, that's what changes the game. Offensive rebounding has been key in these basketball games and these blowouts.
Well, all right. Good stuff as usual, fellas. Good stuff as always. And now we got one game that is nearing the end. Excuse me. Zion, I know I'm going to let you set this one off, man, because I know you are feeling pretty proud, like a very proud Miami Heat fan right now. In game one, as they have been in full control this whole game, I'm not going to, I don't want to rain on your parade, but I mean, the early injury to Giannis definitely has had an impact on this game for the Milwaukee Bucks. Him not being able to return is this clearly this team is just they've been all over the place today. But props to the Miami Heat because they came out with a great game plan, well executing everything well. Jimmy Butler is a man on fire. His first half was absolutely amazing, and they are right now they're up by 11 right now with a little under 10 minutes to go. So they got to hang on. This game's definitely far from over. But how you feeling about your Miami Heat right now, Zion?
I feel absolutely amazing. I'm just gonna rewind the clock just a little bit. I just wanted to say, like, this team suffered a lot of injuries, and to see them play through, and fight through the play-in tournament, like Jeff mentioned early on in the show, he was missing a lot of shots against Atlanta. But one way or another, this team just doesn't want to go out. This team is a fighting. They always come back fighting, and there's always one player that always shows up against. And besides our Goku and Jimmy Butler, there's always one Z fighter that always shows up. And the Z fighter against the Hawks was Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry showed up 33 points off the bench. If you look at against Chicago Bulls, we have powerhouses like DeRozan, powerhouses like Levine. We had another player step up. In Max Strus, dropping 31. And not only that, shout out to Bam. The whole reason why we actually beat the Chicago Bulls is like, Bulls. You don't have to have the points. You don't have to have points to determine the outcome of the game and to control the game. With 17 rebounds from Bam, that controlled the offensive boards, and that's how you get it done. And to speak on this game, like, I'm just proud of my team. And yes, like what Max said, that's definitely, it kind of evens it out a little bit, you know, with Giannis getting hurt, because I still don't want to overlook the Bucks with the deep bench and with as much depth that they have on their roster, and how much shooters they can just come out and not miss, you know. But the one thing I noticed early on before Giannis got hurt is we can't let the Bucks get comfortable, you know. We just have to play them fast, and that's exactly what Miami did. We had the lead and we controlled this lead. I think we was up 8 before Giannis even got hurt. Every time before Giannis got hurt, and hopefully Giannis, I don't think, I'm hoping for the best, but you know, it looks like a lower back contusion. So hopefully he can get, you know, I don't know. I really don't want him to put his body at risk, but I do want to beat Milwaukee at their best. And that's always kind of the fan I've been. I want to beat the team at their best, you know. And that being said, if you look at the way we kind of controlled the story of this game, I'm watching the game right now, guys. That's why I haven't been really saying much on the cast, fam. Thank you guys for all your support, and thank you guys for being in here and watching us on this great Sunday. That being said, but when every time Giannis tried to drove, we had 3 people getting to him immediately, and he had to pass it out, and then we had people hustling. That's one thing I love about the Miami Heat. We always know how to show up and bring the heat. If you look against the Hawks, we was down by a lot. We slowly tried to come our way back, went on our little one, and then we got it 2-5, but we just couldn't finish. Our shot was off that night, right? But shit, give us 7 games. Give us 7 games. You know what I'm saying?
I love him.
That being said, though, against the Chicago Bulls, look how we finished that game. Last 3 minutes, a 15-1 run. You know what I'm saying? Look how we stored in, and look how, you know, this game is 4 from over. You know, they got a lot of great shooters, but look how we've been playing them, you know. And shout out to Kevin Love. Just talking about Jimmy Butler is going to be Goku. We need another player. Look at Kevin Love, man. Look what Kevin Love's doing this game. It's just amazing. You know, it's amazing to see. We have, I believe, truly, and this is truly from my heart, we have a roster that can compete with any team in this league. And the game is 4 from over. This is only game 1. The series is way 4 from over, but I'm super excited and I'm super happy, and I hope we steal this game from Milwaukee. And I'm gonna pass the mic over to you. And there it is, another shot. You know, that's how we do. We can score. Miami can score. We have shooters. You know, our 3-pointers was off, but we can get it down, and we can hold our own with any team. I believe Kevin Love, an asset that we got after
oh my God.
You know, I believe that we have a good matchup, and we can match up against any team in the league. And I still hold my place, and I do believe that this team will find a way to win it out. And let's get it. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Well, I mean, hey, listen, this is why real time is fantastic, right? Because you're sitting here real time watching a game, watching them fight. We'll see. Milwaukee, last time I saw them play without their superstars, they didn't have Middleton. So Middleton needs to be the guy. He needs to be the guy.
Well, he is the
guy.
guy.
He's been great.
He's been great this game.
I mean, but right now they're down. Well, I'm behind. They're down by 11, but that's who, if they want to make a run in this game and keep winning, he's playing well now, but like, give him the ball. Let him ride. This is why you paid him all that money. And
this is running. The offense is running through Middleton right now. Absolutely. The offense is absolutely running through Chris Middleton right now. He's 30 points. He's balling. He's balling.
Just want to point out some stats in this game. Middleton, 30 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists. I want to also shout out to Holiday, you know, doing his thing as well. We got 13 points, 6 rebounds, and 14 assists. Obviously, Holiday is sharing the ball, assisting, fundamental, absolutely. And then turning over to Miami, I want to point out Kevin Love off the bench, man. 18 points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist. Big on Kevin Love. And, of course, your Goku of the squad, Jimmy Butler, 33 points, 4 assists, and 33 points, 4 rebounds, and 10 assists. So this is going to turn into a good game. This is going to come right down to the wire. And hopefully we can keep strong all game, because this is the number 1 seed. And they're the reason they're the best team, man. They're not number 1 for a joke. They're the best team right now in the Eastern Conference. And hopefully we can steal this game at home.
If I'm Middleton, I'm going right up to that guy Carter right now and say, what were you doing? I'm wide open on a bunny hop layup. You're getting the ball, momentum, timeout. I would be in his ear hole. Sorry, Jeff.
No, it's okay.
I'm going to get some water real fast.
Carter's a good 3-point shooter, so he's probably seeing if he can get that step-up 3-point shot. I mean, I look at the Heat and I see these bit players like a Caleb Martin, like a Max Strus, like a Gabe Vincent. I look at them compared to our team, Adam, the Nets. This is what we expect from guys like, how you doing, Miz? Like guys from Joe Harris, from Seth Curry, from like Royce O'Neal. This is what their job is. They're the same type of players as these Heat players.
Yeah,
Heat players off the bench. But
the thing is,
it's the G Leaguers that are doing this.
But that's what I'm saying is like they're better coached right now. They have a better overall team.
That I will agree with. Yes.
So we can sit here and argue like, hey, the Nets need this. The Nets are young. They have to figure it out. Remember, yesterday I said ISO ball. We're seeing in the playoffs right now what's happening when you have ball movement and penetration. Pause. You know what I'm saying? It's allowing you to open up shooters. It's allowing you to make moves, right? Their stars aren't stagnant. Mikal Bridges is getting triple teamed. Where's the rest of the guys? Where's the guys hitting shots?
Sitting behind the 3-point line. That's where they are.
Right, exactly. They don't have any offensive. Like, I feel like the Nets are a bunch of, non-scoring players. They're just a bunch of average players thrown together. Here you go. That they need guys who are gonna they need help from Mikal Bridges in order for him to flourish. They need to take the pressure off him while he grows, and they don't have that right now. If Dinwiddie doesn't do anything and make a second scorer, you got nothing. So and
it's got to be Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson's got to stop being so damn inconsistent because he's capable of putting up 30 points. He's done it. He's just so up and down with his shot. Right. He's got to be a guy that's got to also emerge. It can't just be Mikal. We got both those guys for a reason. They call them twins for a reason. Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson. Johnson has also got to start stepping up his game too. But just to go back to the Bucks.
All right, fellas. All right. Go ahead, Jeff. Wrap it up.
I was just going to say real quickly, the Bucks, Middleton is the guy. You made it. You said it before. If Middleton is playing as well as he is right now, and hopefully Giannis will be okay, and I know the Heat, they also suffered. They suffered a monster injury too because Tyler Hero losing that dude. Losing Tyler Hero is a major blow to that team. He's one of the best 3-point shooters in the league, so that's going to be a major injury. They're going to have to work around too. But if Giannis is able to come back, the reason why the Bucks won the championship a couple of years ago was number 22, Chris Middleton. That dude he's one of the most underrated, not talked about superstars in this league. He's a terrific player when he's healthy. He just gets hurt all the time. But that dude is once again going out there in a playoff series and playing great. That's Chris Middleton.
Poor man's Kevin Durant.
He's such a great player that never gets the respect he deserves.
And so is that number 9.
All right.
Oh, Portis, yeah.
Great stuff. Portis is having a great game as well. Let's got one game about to tip off right now. Clippers Suns about to tip off out in Phoenix. Clippers they're gonna be without Paul George through this series. We'll be without Paul George for this series, man. How do you think this series is gonna play out?
Can I go first?
You think the Clippers have a shot upsetting the Suns in this series? Go ahead.
I honestly think now, don't get me wrong, Kawhi Leonard been balling out over the last month. He's been having great basketball. I haven't been watching that much Clippers basketball, but and all these teams been resting their starters now. So but that being said, he finished the season pretty good. But on the other hand, I have, honestly, guys, I still have the Warriors making it because I just think when the Splash Brothers get it rolling, they can get it rolling. But this Kings team is definitely going to put up a fight. But I also just think this Suns team, that's a super team. That is a super team. And if they're all going, you got to play damn near perfect basketball. And yeah, Kawhi, he's one of the best players in the league. But the Clippers, they have a great roster, but I don't see this series going too far. I'm not trying to
super team, and look what happened to us.
I'm not trying to, but you got Chris Paul as the main facilitator of the basketball. You got Booker as just a dynamic all-around player. You got KD, and you guys know KD. We don't have to talk about KD. And Ayton, Ayton kind of disappoints me sometimes, but Ayton, when he's game, Ayton can be one of the top centers in the league when he's game, but he's never really mentally focused all the way in. But if Ayton locks in, if this team locks in and the surrounding cast with the bench that this team has, and I only mentioned 4 players, but that being said, if those 4 players locked in, there's there's very few teams in this league that can beat the Suns when they're locked in, and I think the Suns will be locked in. And Kawhi is definitely going to have his, but it's going to be one of those moments where Kawhi can put up 50 points and they still lose the game. I just don't believe that the Clippers have the manpower to take out the Suns, and that's just me being honest.
Well, I think the Clippers actually do have some manpower on that team that could actually step up and maybe do something. They just got to show it. And one of those guys is one of everybody's favorite punching bags, and that's Russell Westbrook. This is Russell Westbrook's opportunity to go out there right now and be that X factor in this series. With the fact that PG-13 is out now, Russell Westbrook is going to have to become that second scorer on that team, or an Eric Gordon, another old veteran player that they traded for is going to have to be that three-point shooter. I think guys like Zubac, as well as Mason Plumlee at the center position, is going to have to give Ayton some issues. You got Norman Powell, you got Bones Highland. They have talent on this team to be able to go out there and make a difference. Phoenix, to me, they have a great great four players on that team. Obviously with Booker, Ayton, Durant, and Paul. But the bench is not that good. I mean, if one of those four guys struggles, the Clippers, I think, have the overall, you guys call me nuts, I think as a team, I think the Clippers are a better overall team. But, when it comes to, the four, best players, you could argue all of them might be on the Phoenix Suns. So, I think the Clippers could take advantage of that center position because Ayton is one of the softest centers. He's a big 7-foot center, but he's so soft.
It's so irritating.
You bully him a little bit. You bully him at that center position, he's going to wilt. He's going to melt like a whole thing of butter outside in a 90-degree sun day. That's how he is. He's not an aggressive player towards the box. And I think if Ayton can play at the top of his game, that might be the X factor in this series because Booker will get his, like you said, as Zion. Durant will get his. Paul, all he's going to have to do is facilitate the basketball, but Ayton is that X factor. He's got to be able to control that paint, go get his double-double, score about 15, 20 points, and then I think it might be too difficult for the Clippers. But I think the Clippers do have players on that roster that could make a difference. The problem is, can they actually get it done on the big stage? Mr. Number 0, that's you, Russell Westbrook. This is your chance.
And real fast before you go, Adam, that's a great take, Jeff. I do want to say, guys, if Paul George was playing, I agree with Jeff. The Clippers have the overall better roster, but Paul George is injured. And like Jeff said, they got shooters. I know Powell, I believe his name is. He's been playing good basketball as well. But the thing is, you got to somewhat find a way to get those fair players, and I thought Chris Paul was playing tonight. I think Jeff just said that Chris Paul is going to be out. But that being said, you gotta get those three players.
Oh, Chris Paul's playing. Chris Paul's playing,
right? So you got to get those fair players completely off their game. You know what I'm saying? And if you can do that, then you may have a bench player every now and then have a big game of the Suns. The Suns have a decent bench, but it's pick and choose. It's almost like Miami in a sense, who's gonna show up tonight, But overall, you gotta get those main for. You got to get those main for absolutely. It's a great matchup. You got to get those main for off the game. Go right ahead, Adam.
I think the X factor is going to be Kevin Durant. They brought him in here for a reason, and this is the reason. Okay, with Booker, with Paul, with Ayton, they made it to the playoffs. Right now, with Kevin Durant, you get a closer. You get a guy who's supposed to take and make those guys better. If you get playoff KD and he's on fire, it's going to change the dynamic of this team. It's going to make DeAndre Ayton better because you can't double team him while you have Kevin Durant on the floor. You also have Chris Paul, who, unlike Kyrie Irving, knows when to facilitate the basketball to somebody else. So he's going to know how to distribute. You're going to have him in the spacing. People need to realize spacing on the floor changes with Kevin Durant on the game. Devin Booker has not played with anybody like this in the playoffs. Usually he has to play above his means, score 25 to 30 a night just for this team to have a chance and be good. Now, if they play well, I don't think the Clippers, regardless of them having Kawhi Leonard or not, are going to be able to move around like that. Now, I know we say Ayton is soft, but this is the type of game that Ayton can do well in because if Durant hits his shots, you're going to see Ayton there. And if you get the Ayton who played pretty well in the playoffs a couple years ago, the Suns are going to be tough to beat.
It's just kind of
Yeah,
funny,
all
real
right.
fast. I
Well,
just
there
want
is
to add
one.
this real fast, Mac. It's just kind of funny, right? You see Golden State make it to the finals not so long ago, right? I believe I don't know, my history could be off. I believe they end up losing, and then KD comes and signs with them, right? And then you have the Suns, right? The three players make it to the finals, lose against Milwaukee, and then here comes KD, like,
Don't get me
hey
started
guys,
with Kevin
I think
Durant.
I could help. I'm
Don't get me
sorry, I just
started with
wanted to
Kevin
say
Durant.
that.
By the way,
What
hi
coincidence.
Kyrie. How are you enjoying at home? You enjoying that? Good job
What
self-destructing
a
another team.
coincidence. Oh,
Good
that was
job
just
destructing
devastating
another
for the
team,
Well,
Mavericks.
Kyrie.
Go ahead.
all right, fellas. Just one more series getting kicked off tonight, 10:30 tonight out in Denver. Number 1 seed Denver Nuggets hosting the number 8 seed Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves have had an interesting week, to say the least, but they still battle through all the adversities, and they still got that 8th seed in the play-in. So they're here because they earned their spot. Any chance of them making this a competitive series against the Denver Nuggets? Any chance at all?
No. You listen to the pundits out there, they think that Denver is just another one. It's just a team that every time they get in the playoffs, they choke. Do people not realize that last year this team didn't have 2 of their 3 best players? They were out due to injury, and Jokic, as great as he is, he's not a one-man show. He can't do it all by himself. You add Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. to that already very stacked roster in Denver, that team becomes that much better and more scary of a team to play against. And Jokic, I mean, if Embiid didn't go as nuts as he did this year in the NBA regular season, Jokic once again would have been the MVP. I don't remember a center this versatile at what he can do on the floor. Jokic is just that guy. He's just a different type of player. He is like when you say like the player is him, Jokic is him. That dude can assist, he can shoot, he can low post, he can shoot from the outside, he can do it all. He's not a great defensive player, but he's a terrific player overall. Jamal Murray is seemed to be rounding into form in his game after coming off that torn ACL, and Michael Porter Jr. has taken his game to the next level. They added Bruce Brown, who I loved. I loved Bruce Brown with the Nets. I think that was an excellent pickup by them, getting Bruce Brown. He's just fitting really well with that team. Kadavius Caldwell-Pope has really done a good job as that defensive shooting guard out there who could occasionally hit down and shoot the three. The ageless Jeff Green, the dude's like 40 years old and he's still going out there and playing great. I mean, this Denver Nuggets team, they have pressure on them, but I think they're going out there. Appreciate that. Thank you. They're going out there and they're pretty much ready to show this NBA world that they're not a team that's going to get bounced out in the first round again. And they're going to make some noise. And they're going to be a team that's going to try to go out there and represent this Western Conference. So Timberwolves, I mean, Gobert, I don't know what Gobert's thinking. I mean, Gobert, seriously, McDaniels, why are you punching a wall? Did the wall say something to offend you after the game or something? I mean, that was stupid. The Timberwolves pretty much self-destructed, but because the bottom of the West just couldn't, get itself together, the Timberwolves seemed to sneak into that 8th seed. But I think the Nuggets should be able to handle business and win this in 5.
I'm gonna jump in and I'm gonna actually have to disagree. I honestly think I'm looking at this matchup and I'm looking at it the same way I looked at Milwaukee versus Miami's matchup, and not me being a Heat fan. I know Giannis changes the game, but even with Giannis in, my confidence was still high because I do believe like that Miami has the roster to sneak a victory. And look, when you look at how the Timberwolves played the last out against the OKC, with Gritty and Alexander, top young players, yes, will it be hard? Absolutely. Is Denver the number 1 seed for a reason, like Jeff said? Absolutely. Is Joker one of the best centers, in the league? Absolutely. He's number 1 and is already in candidate of on the top 20 list in my mind. You know what I'm saying? This guy, that's how good this center can facilitate the basketball like no other that we've seen in a while. So that being said, I do believe that when you have on the opposing side a center like Cat, a center that can just drop buckets at a dime. When Cat has his night, Cat goes out there and just drops threes. And when you have a young player like Anthony, Anthony hasn't really been playing the best basketball as of late, but when Anthony has his game and when he's locked in, he's truly locked in. And another guy I want to point out is Anderson. Anderson coming off the bench.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, if Anderson coming off the bench, if he has his night and he get him rolling, he's another guy that can be dropping buckets for you. So yes, is it going to be a tough out for Minnesota? Absolutely. But I won't be surprised. I do have probably Denver in a slight edge, but I won't be surprised if Minnesota, gets the victory here. I know that's stupid. I don't want to sound stupid, but
Adam must disagree with you because he has bricks behind, so he thinks maybe they're going to be shooting a lot of bricks.
If Minnesota can roll, but that's the thing, Minnesota got to play perfect basketball, exactly like the Miami Heat. If we're going to pull it off, we have to play perfect basketball. Will Minnesota play perfect basketball? I'm going to probably say no. I'm probably say it's going to come down to the wire. I'm going to say 3-3, and Denver wins it in the 7th game. Go right ahead, Adam.
I don't think it's going to be that as close as you think it is. I don't think it's going to be 7 games.
No?
I wouldn't even think if it gets 6 games. I think they're going to maybe win 1 game because there's a few teams, I think, in the playoffs that may not have a chance. Atlanta is one of them, but if Trae Young comes alive, he could always steal a game, right? The Nets are another. I worry about them. If they can't steal one in game, at least in Philadelphia, where their win's going to come up, right? And then the Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, they're playing the best team in basketball. They don't have a lot of great players, but let's be honest, they couldn't even keep their composure a week ago. You're going to tell me now that they're all of a sudden going to change? I don't think so. So we'll see how they do it, but I don't think it's going past 6 games, if that.
Good stuff, fellas. Good stuff. Let's move on now, man. Let's move on to the NFL. Let's talk a little bit of NFL news, man. We can start at home. Fellas. We are all, as you know, proud New York Giant fans on this panel. We can start at home. We got a little, not much news, but you know how you got to get curious about you guys' opinion. Saquon Barkley, Dexter Lawrence have come out. They're not attending off-season stuff right now because they want to, obviously they're looking to search for those new contracts. I mean, it's May. It's not even May yet. It's still April. I don't give a damn about any of this right now. As long as Saquon Barkley and Dexter Lawrence are on the field in September, that's what matters to me. I don't give a damn what they're doing right now in April and May, as long as they're staying in shape and getting ready for 2023 season, man. How you guys feel about this?
I'd like to begin by saying I believe this is why I kind of wanted to bring this up in the group chat, and why I brought it up to you guys in the group chat is because, like, I understand that this is something that it is May and it is an off season, and I'm not too concerned about it in the sense of, in April, absolutely. I'm not too concerned about it. I believe, everything will be worked out. The one thing that worried me, and I wouldn't even say worried, it's just a concerning, watching the program and hearing some thoughts on this program. I forget what program it is, but they made a good point. If Barkley doesn't, he doesn't sign right, and then obviously he's going to be there, and he goes out and he gets hurt, he's not backed. You know what I'm saying? When you're training at the facility, you're backed. So if you get hurt training at the facility, you're backed at $10 million. If you go and you train privately and you get hurt, you're not backed at $10 million. You get nothing, So that I'm not wishing an injury. I'm not saying like that, but that's the only concerning thing for me. You know what I'm saying? Is we've seen it in the past, and we it's football. We've seen it happen. I believe. I forget who the player was, but he's Instagramming live, and he snaps his knee or something. You know what I'm saying? And maybe if Barkley never had injuries in his past, never had fluke injuries in his past, I wouldn't even bat an eye on this. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not batting. I'm not looking at it in the sense of like I'm worried. I don't think Barkley's going to be on the team. I'm looking at it. I hope he makes the right choices and he stays healthy and everything's blessed. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I'm looking at it. You know what I'm saying? I want to hear you guys' thoughts on what Mac brought up as well. Are you guys worried? Are you guys concerned? Or you guys don't know?
I'm not really concerned.
Well, Miz, I'm gonna tell you right quick. Let me address Miz right quick. I don't think it's necessarily playing a dangerous game. I think I respect that man's view that he doesn't want to sign that franchise tag. I think that man knows he's worth a contract and he deserves a contract to protect himself. So I think right now at this point in the offseason, man, he's still holding out to get that actual deal done. He's not in a rush to put his name on that tender, man. And I don't really have a problem with it because I think we all I don't know how you, I mean, maybe you feel differently and that's fine. Your opinion is your opinion, but Saquon Barkley's worth the contract. I mean, let's face it, he's worth the contract. You know, he's in this and he doesn't want to put his name on that franchise tender. And yeah, absolutely. So I just think that right now it's just nothing to be concerned about. I wouldn't even worry about it, and I'm not trying to judge Saquon Barkley either way. I think the competitor that I believe he's going to be on that field in September, regardless, one way or another. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm sorry, I didn't really take it away, bro.
I look at it like this, okay? The Giants are showing their hand. They're telling you how they feel about Barkley right now. They decided to go with Daniel Jones over Saquon Barkley. That's what they did. You know what I mean? If they wanted, the smart thing is you wanted to. You right there, man?
Okay.
Yeah. Did I not mute my mic?
Nope.
No.
I'm sorry, guys.
You did not.
No, you didn't.
So, anywho, when they chose to go with Daniel Jones. Now, you could argue, hey, we should have signed Barkley and put Jones on the franchise tag because we know what Barkley is. In 3 out of his 5 seasons, he's had over 1,000 yards and been an absolute difference maker. You could argue that he was one of the main reasons the Giants won a lot of the games this year. I mean, you could make that case. To me, he also turned down a deal early on that the Giants gave him, which may come back to bite him. If I'm Saquon Barkley, I'm definitely holding out. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if they trade him during draft day, and here's why. Because if you're not going to get him signed to a long-term deal, and you'll know this already, then why not just say, hey, listen, we'll trade you to another team, get some assets this draft class, and then you use that capital to a guy who's going to be here in the future. Because Barkley's number is not going to go down next year if he has a great year. It's not. And are you going to want to franchise him again? Is he going to want to do that twice in a row? I don't think so, right? I don't think he would want to do that. And I don't think the Giants would back-to-back franchise him for the second time. So for me, if I'm Barkley, I'm doing everything in my power to try to get a long-term deal. If it doesn't, I'll be ready, in shape. I'm out with the guys training anyways. You see me out in Arizona hanging out with DJ. I know the offense. If this was a new coaching regime, right, and this wasn't Brian Daboll already, I'd have a little bit more concern. But because he knows the offense, because he knows what he's doing, hold out, try to get your money. I think they're not going to sign him. I just think they're going to let him play on the franchise tag and let him walk. I think he has more history, and he is the face of the franchise. Unfortunately, over the quarterback, whether you like to admit it, that he is the guy that they are in the commercials, on all the TV ads, everywhere you see. So we'll see what happens. But I think they're showing you their hand, and we'll find out what happens in the next 2 weeks if they draft his replacement.
I mean, I'm just going by what I've seen in the free agent market. And I'm sorry, we all love Barkley, but look at the other running backs in this free agent market and what they've gotten or haven't gotten, because the only running back that's gotten paid this free agency has been Miles Sanders. And what did he get paid? $8-9 million.
Christian McCaffrey.
Well, McCaffrey got paid a year or two ago, so he's the exception. But most
he got traded this year.
Yeah, and he got traded because Carolina only had him. They paid him, and then they pretty much let him go a year later. It's just the deal with the running back position. Look at Zeke. I mean, Josh Jacobs still on a franchise tag. Tony Pollard, franchise tag. Miles Sanders, underpaid. Kareem Hunt is still on the market. Dalvin Cook might be released.
And it's a pretty strong, and it's a strong running back draft class this year.
And that's the thing, too. I'm sorry. Barkley had an opportunity. He was getting offered, 12, 13 million per season at the beginning of this offseason. He turned it down because he thought he was going to be worth 14, 16 mil. And I guess Shane probably figured he's worth around the 10 mil, $11 million a year price tag, because that's unfortunately what the running back dictates.
Does he do as much as McCaffrey?
I think they do just about the same. They're both similar type of players.
So then I don't see.
They have equal skill sets. Yeah.
Dalvin Cook, a lot of these guys do.
Right, but I don't disagree with Barkley saying, you know what, I'm, worth it. Let's be honest. He's been on a crappy franchise for the last few years. The Giants have been nothing outside of this year. the sexier position was the quarterback position. So what they did was they're telling you, hey, listen, we are going to go with the quarterback. We hope to sign you to a long-term deal, which they still do. They still have till the 15th to sign him to a deal. And for all we know, tomorrow they could wake up and realize how valuable a player he is. And, they sign him long-term. All I'm thinking is the Giants, looking long-term, want to get rid of certain players that are going to cost them money. If you can draft a running back in this very deep draft class this year of running backs and get a 4th round back, not to mention they might like Gary Brightwell and Joshua Corbin still on the team. He flashed a little bit in the preseason. So maybe they like their own guys on their team. That is not a bad thing to happen. I feel sorry for Barkley because I think he's getting the raw deal. If anybody's gotten screwed more than Daniel Jones, or if not, more than Daniel Jones and not talked about, has been Saquon Barkley. Okay, he's been injured. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
Well, look, I got my thing. I was gonna say my whole thing with the running back situation is, look, us as fans, all around the league, they value running backs a certain way. We all value running backs a certain way, but the running backs themselves, the players themselves, they hold the higher value to themselves. I think Saquon Barkley knows the kind of player he is, and he knows what he means to this team, and he wants to get paid accordingly. Now, and there's nothing wrong with holding out and seeing if he can get that. It's not likely, as based on everything that we all know as fans and know looking from the outside in, it's not likely that he's going to get what he wants. But the reality is he's valuing himself right now, and he's just betting on himself, and he's just trying to see. And he's going to hold out as long as he has to see if he can make it happen. And we'll see how it all comes out. But at the end of the day, these guys, especially these certain ones, like you mentioned, the Christian McCaffreys, the Saquon Barkley, these guys they're very good running backs. They're not just okay guys. They're difference makers on their team.
Pacheco,
so they just want to be paid accordingly. And I get it.
Bradley Chubb.
I understand you got these running backs. These running backs come out of every year. They seem to come out of nowhere. Guys that are getting drafted in the 5th, 4th, 5th, 6th round, just come out of nowhere, and they're legit. They come out there, you can insert them, plug and play. So it just makes the position so undervalued. And that these guys see themselves a different way, So they're just holding out, trying to get the best that they can get. So and I can't blame them for that, especially this early in the offseason process.
Let me ask you this. Who would you want more, Barkley or Dexter Lawrence?
Lawrence. Dexter Lawrence, it's not even close. Not even close.
So if you're gonna say that to me, this is the last year of his contract, then I rather allocate those funds next year to Dexter Lawrence. Okay, so it's unfortunate for the running back position in the NFL draft that these guys happen to do that. Guys like Pacheco and let's be honest, it's a business. They want to micromanage everything. You can't pay every star. I mean, you have Leonard Williams making $32 million. Okay, you're gonna have Dexter Lawrence, who's holding out right now for the bag, and he deserves it. Right, he deserves it. If anything, he wants Jeffrey Simmons money. I don't blame him for wanting.
The defensive tackles are getting paid this offseason. There's already 3 monster contracts at that defensive tackle position. And Lawrence and the Jets defensive tackle, Quentin Williams, they're looking at those deals right now. They want to get paid around 20-25 mil per season.
So then it just comes down to who you think you're building your franchise with going forward. If you think that you need Dexter Lawrence a lot more than you need Saquon Barkley, and you believe you can replace him, he is a great talent. I don't disagree with you, Mac. I'm not telling you he's not an all-world talent. The guy has Hall of Fame credentials if he stays healthy the rest of his career. My question is like, if you want Dexter Lawrence, you've got to sacrifice somebody. And if that means you're sacrificing Barkley, well, then you go out and you get his replacement. I mean, heck, why not draft the guy in the 2nd round? From UCLA.
Here's the thing, too. Like, the way I look at this whole picture is, like, obviously Barkley's one of my favorite players on the Giants. And the thing is, who's my other favorite player? Well, it would be that guy on defense. And the thing is, with Dexter Lawrence, the reason why I would value Dexter Lawrence over Saquon Barkley. Like, yes, Barkley, it was just bad timing with everything. You know what I'm saying? You was on the team that didn't really have an offensive line, and then also with injuries. With Dexter Lawrence, it's nothing but elevation every single season. He has emerged this season now arguably the number one, number two, number three in the league. You know what I'm saying? Finishing number one in most of those categories. So when you have a foundation piece like that, and they're harder to come around, and that's why, you know, earlier on 3 weeks ago when I hated how the NFL disrespected the running back position, you know, I do understand the reason why. It's because when you look at the draft, you can go down there, draft a quarterback this year in the 5th round, and he can probably produce, probably have 800 yards easily. So that being said, with the elevation of the passing game, and now the pass sets up the run rather than the one setting up the pass, it's a whole other game, and you still need that element up front on defense. Dexter Lawrence. So if I'm a general manager, Dexter Lawrence is priority. Dexter Lawrence contract is priority. If Saquon Barkley at fully healthy is in the top 4 running backs in the NFL, but fully healthy, and it's almost my biggest take. And I'm sorry, Jeff, but my biggest hatred. I loved him coming out of Oklahoma. He was one of my favorite players coming out of Oklahoma. You know, when he's on the field, we all know how good he is. But it's all like the history of injuries with Shepard, you know, and now with the history of injuries with Barkley, it's like Dexter Lawrence is for me the more valuable player that you do pay. I just want to point this out before I give the mic back. The Miami Heat did edge the victory 130 to 117. We see how it goes. Hopefully they can ride through. I know it's going to be a tough series. I'm not trying to overlook Milwaukee, even though without Giannis, they still have shooters. And I just want to say that go Heat Nation. Six people finished with double figures in points. And if you know Tyler's going to be out for us and Giannis is going to be out for them, it's going to come down to, you know, defense and who can knock down those shots. So we haven't been shooting threes that much this year. We've been damn terrible at it. Some of the bottom, near the bottom in the league, but we did knock down our threes tonight, and that's what we're going to need going forward if we're going to upset the number 1 seed. Will it happen? I don't know, but I'm going to ride with the Heat because I'm a ride or die. That being said, you guys can have the mic back. Let's get it.
Well, we got a question for me up here on the board from Miz. Been sitting up here for a minute. All right, look, man, I'm going to tell you right now, Miz, whether we trade Barkley or not, if Bijan Robinson is still on the board at number 25, we're taking his ass anyway, just because you can't let talent like that pass through your fingers, slip through your fingers.
There you go.
You just if he's on the board at 25, it doesn't matter if we still got Barkley or not. I'm running to the commissioner up there with that card to the commissioner my damn self and putting Bijan Robinson's name down on there and saying we're taking him at 25 because that man should not be sitting on the board at number 25. And I don't care how anybody feels about running backs. There's no way in the world that young man should be on the board at 25. But if he is, whether we still have Barkley or not, you got to pull the trigger on that. That's just automatic. That's without even, you don't have to think about that.
Wow.
That you would probably have to trade Barkley then because you know he's definitely not showing up if you draft Bijan Robinson. He's gone. He's going to be like, well, all right, you already drafted.
Here's the thing, though. Real fast, Adam. I love that take, Mac, and I do love Robinson. But me, in my mock, I don't release shit. But in my mock, I had him going to the Buffalo Bills at 28, and that's us keeping Barkley. Now, do I feel that Bijan Robinson is a special player? Probably the best. I'll probably have him rank in the top 100 players at 5. I only have 4 players ahead of him. That being said, Bijan Robinson is an outstanding player, but I do believe with players like Gibbs and with all these other running backs, we can get away with not having that much premier talent. And that's the knock on Bijan Robinson, my bad, is yeah, he's a premier talent, but that's the knock on running backs. It's like, yeah, he's above the running backs, but teams can get away with not having that premier back, and that's why I think Robinson will fall. And if he goes before us, he deserves to go in the top 10 in my mind. I think the Eagles should damn right take him.
I think he's going to. You want me to be honest? I think he's going to Dallas. I think Dallas is going to take him. Especially with the void at running back.
I heard he's hot on their radar. Yeah, he's high on their radar.
Yeah, so in my opinion, he damn near deserves to go in the top 10. But we'll see what happens. I can also easily see him falling into after we pick, because I think for us, I don't want to get too far into detail, but for us, I just believe that like a cornerback or a wide receiver, interior lineman will be prime for that pick. And also a running back in the third will be prime for that pick there. I believe that's even without Barkley. I believe I want Barkley on this roster, but even without Barkley, I believe we can go back to a running back by committee and get away with it.
I'm not worried about Barkley. I'm not worried about Lawrence when it comes to a contract. I wouldn't even be surprised if the organization told him to maybe, stay on the side because we're working on a contract extension with him. But Lawrence is going to get paid. He obviously wants top tier defensive tackle money, which he's going to get after the season he had. Who knows with Barkley? I mean, they have plenty of time still to go back to the negotiating table. I mean, it's not until July, until that franchise tag deadline where you need to sign your franchise player to a deal. So they have a few months to work something out, and they could obviously get back to the table if the Giants and Barkley are willing to, come a little bit down on their where they believe each side is the value on that player. Lawrence, I wouldn't be surprised if Lawrence gets signed to a long-term deal either sometime this week or like around the draft. I think he's going to get his deal, but Barkley, just got to let it play. And I wouldn't be shocked if he's going to play on the franchise tag. Is he going to hold out? Who knows? Wouldn't be shocked if he does. I don't blame him. He should. He's trying to look.
Well, he's holding out tomorrow.
No,
he's holding out tomorrow.
Closer to like training camp, like around that time. He's not going to do what Le'Veon Bell did, though. He's not that stupid after what Bell did. I mean, that could be that guy's career.
They're starting their program tomorrow, so he won't be there for that. But I don't know. The draft is coming up, and a lot of these questions will be answered there. To me, I don't think that we're gonna really solve anything. We already know what. See, the thing is, we know what we know. He turned down a deal. I don't know what he's asking for. He turned down a decent, solid deal that would have paid him decent money and made him a free agent.
14 mil you think he's asking for, Adam? Like 14, 15 mil per season? Barkley?
I think he wants what Christian McCaffrey wants, and that was like 16 million a year.
Well, even right now, if he signs the franchise tag, he's the 7th highest running back in the NFL. Like, I understand, bro.
But the money went down from last year to this year. Yeah. Last year, the franchise tag was 12 million. This year, it was 10 million. They offered you 12 million a year, and you said no.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's my point, right? That's my point. But even at you denied that, so that shit's in the past. But even at the 10 million mark, that still makes you tied at 6, I believe, or 7, highest paid running back. Like, bro, like Barkley, like I said, like I have your jersey, I respect you. I make like he's watching the show. But the thing is, bro, like you gotta meet us 50-50, bro. Like you gotta meet us 50-50. It's not like you was out there 100% healthy your entire career. And if that's so, yeah, damn near you're gonna get paid the number 1 and the number 2 running back level contract. But right now you're the 6th, tied probably 7th. I think it's 7th highest paying running back. I think that's damn fair. Because if you think about it, you know how much damn running backs. You know
what you just said. You think that's fair, but Saquon Barkley might not think that's fair.
Exactly.
That's the point I'm talking about. He doesn't, in his mind, the way his mind is working.
Well, then he's not.
He knows the kind of player he is.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
That's the nature of the business. But this is how their minds work. And it's not about with him. He's not trying to meet 50-50. He's trying to maximize what he feels his worth is. And that's just what it is. That's what negotiations is all about. It's April. I'm not worried about it. I'm not really that concerned about it right now, to be honest. What's going on, Levance? But let's move on to some other topics, man, in the NFL, man. Let's move on and stay in the division for a little bit. Let's go. Let's talk to Washington Commanders talk. Finally, looking like we got a sale done. At least in the process of being completed, the Washington Commanders Dan Snyder has successfully finally sold the Washington Commanders. It's a new ownership. That's a lot of Washington Commanders organization has been an absolute mess under Dan Snyder, under Dan Snyder's ownership group. Maybe these new owners are going to have to come in. They got a lot to clean up, a lot of mess. How you think that fares for the Washington Commanders going forward? I mean, it doesn't really affect necessarily what they're going to be able to do on the field. But at the same time, it's a new sheriff in town, looks like, man. How you think that's going to affect the landscape of the division?
I don't think it's going to affect much, but I will tell you this. If you have a competent franchise now, they're not going to do as dumb things, so maybe they'll start to better their franchise, right? They won't reach on quarterbacks, or they might do dumb, asinine things. You don't know what's going to happen when someone cleans it up. An albatross, a cloud may be lifted from that franchise. I'm not saying, they're going to get a new ownership group and they're just going to be, head over heels better than they were. But if he's not there next year, and the atmosphere is better to work in and the work environment is better to work in, that does trickle down. And you can see it a lot
Absolutely.
in the dysfunction of the coach and the player and the owner, right? I feel like they're walking in different steps. Now, Dan Snyder can be out of the picture. He can be out with his legal team, whatever the heck that is. This new group comes in, has Magic Johnson now part of their ownership group. The guy from the 76ers, part of the ownership group, right? That is going to fire you up and say, hey, listen, maybe this is for the better. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be drastically better, but things like this can change franchises. I don't think it's going to change it overnight.
Has an impact.
Yeah, I think a trickle-down effect happens. Will it change them to make them superstars? No, but will they decide to be more of a competent franchise going forward, think a little differently? It's hard. I mean, the player said it last year that it was hard to kind of walk on eggshells, and Ron Rivera was the reason they didn't implode.
Exactly. Well said, Adam. I mean, that's just where I'm at with it, man. That just makes it a better work environment. You feel better about going to work every day. It has an impact all the way down. I mean, let's face it. I don't know how I feel about the Washington Commanders. They got some talented players on that football team, man. They got some really talented players on that football team. And if you start feeling happy about going to work, feeling better about yourself going in the office every day, it can make a difference. And in a very competitive NFC East division, man. So what you guys got, Jeff and Zion, man?
I just want to say real fast to finish off what Adam was saying, like in a different point. It's like the face of that franchise was Juan Rivera for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And that's how sad it was. You know what I'm saying? You have players like Chase that maybe didn't really fully live up to his potential, but I think he certainly well can. You know what I'm saying? And you have new ownership that's coming in that can revamp. Do they change the name? Do they change the logo? Who knows? That you have to vote on that. They have to talk to other owners about that. It's not only their decision. But that being said, like that's just a whole total shift in the culture. You know what I'm saying? Like you guys was talking about, and start highlighting some of these players as faces of the franchise. Like don't get me wrong, Ron Rivera is a great coach, but it's about the players here. You know what I'm saying? So highlight some of these top players, and who knows what they do. And yes, it is going to take time, but I truly believe that, when things happen, in a sense of a bad franchise and a new ownership comes in, it just brings in new ideas, and they wouldn't have bought the franchise if they didn't believe they can revive it out of the abyss that it's been in. So good luck on them. You know what I'm saying? It's good to see.
A team is a good investment, regardless of if it's losing. It's a good investment. So it's not like they're going to come in and, it's a bad investment. What you want to see happen is you just want the trickle down. Listen, think about this.
Well, that's my point, Adam. I mean, like, I'm not going to buy an NFL team. Honestly, I'm not going to invest my money in an NFL team if I don't have a vision on when I can see it. Like, if I'm not going to invest money in an NFL team if I don't have an end goal where I want to see that NFL team become, and that's what I mean.
Well, I mean, you could always, you're the owner. You could always move the team. You could do a lot of things with it. What I'm saying is, even the worst franchises in baseball who don't sell out every building make money. So what you really want to see is like in Denver, right? Denver has a new ownership group. They just went out and got a big fish, Sean Payton, to now run their franchise, to now try to resurrect that team with that franchise going forward. That's going to change it all, right? That ownership group is buying in, just like the ownership group for the Mets has changed that culture of what they do. They don't do the same spending that they did with the Wilbons and all that. Not only are they not Ponzi scheming, but they also have an owner who is like, hey, let's go out and get a big bat. Let's go out and, get some hitters and some players. Let's make some moves. So the philosophy then changes. A guy like Dan Snyder not being in the news, not being the laughing stock of the owners' meetings, not being, because what do we associate with the Washington Redskins, right? Oh, the Washington Commanders and Dan Snyder, bad franchise. Now you bring it in, you can clean that up. Maybe the owner does change the name and makes it an actually good name. I don't know, the Washington Generals or something like that. Something better than Commanders, something maybe more football-y, not something from the XFL or USFL, right? So all I'm saying is think about it like that. Think about it going forward, because that's what is going to happen. For all we know, maybe this ownership group gets the right coach. They see, you know what? We like this coach coming up. They get the new fiery coach that you never know. McVay wants to leave. LA? What if he decides, hey, I like the ownership group there. Maybe I'll go back to Washington. Who knows? You never know what happens. So, good for the Commanders finally getting a competent team. I want to see that team. Of all the teams, they're the one that less irritates me in the NFC East, right? It's like, I hate the Eagles. The Cowboys it's more than just the Cowboys. It's their fan base that annoys me as well, right? And then there's the Commanders. How many Commander fans have you met? I've never met. I have not met that many. And when I do meet them, they don't really do much because they know the franchise is in shambles because all I have to say is Dan Schneider, right? Yeah. So
it's like a dark cloud that's been lifted off that entire organization, that entire fan base. That's exactly what it is. I mean, like you just mentioned it before, Mac and I feel the same way because we just had a dark cloud lifted off our organization with the Mets not that long ago. When the Wilpons finally said, get the hell out of here, they're gone. And Steve Cohen decided to come in and he rejuvenated that entire organization. That's exactly what this new ownership group is going to do for the Washington Commanders franchise. It's just going to be a dark cloud that has been lifted off that organization for all these years. And it's just going to make the employees just feel a lot more comfortable. It's going to make the players feel better, the coaching staff. Everything is just going to feel a lot more at ease now because of what Dan Snyder has impacted this team, this franchise, this organization for all these years, all the bad publicity, the disgusting stadium, the things that are going on behind the scenes, stupid coach hires, bad GM moves, ridiculous free agent moves. I know it's like the owner could also have influence in player personnel stuff too. So you're now getting yourself a new fresh start. It's going to just rejuvenate that entire organization and that entire fan base. This is probably the biggest win that any Washington Commanders fan, coach, front office executive, anybody could be feeling right now, is that the curse of Dan Snyder is finally been eradicated. That's the feeling that it's going to be like in Washington now is a new breath of fresh air. And I'd like to see them be good. If the NFC East can fully be a good division, it's a great thing in the NFL. We just have to hope that little brother could finally get it together and actually put together a decent product and stop making all the ridiculous moves they made. But getting Snyder out of there is probably the biggest game-changing move that Washington organization has made in a very, very long time. It's a great move for them, and it's a blessing for that organization this has happened.
Great stuff, Jeff. And now the rest of you guys all have definitely great opinions on that subject, man. Let's move on to another quick topic here in the NFL, man.
Adam, Mac,
in my opinion,
I just want to give one quick update real quickly on they just released an injury report for Giannis. He apparently, Budenholzer says he will see how Giannis is progressing due to his back injury before making any calls about him playing. So they're going to do like a day-by-day, basis with Giannis to see how he's going to be going. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
He's day to day.
Pretty much.
All right, we're going to stay in NFL.
Another update real fast. I'm sorry. The Clippers are up 27 right now, 18 against the Suns. Coming out, starting real hot. Let's see if they can keep it going the entire game. Go right ahead, Matt.
I'm gonna stay in the NFL for a minute, man. We're gonna salute a great player hanging up the cleats. To me, he was for me watching him in the earlier 2010s, man. He was just a phenomenal force in the middle of defense, man. Gerald McCoy hanging up the cleats, man. Finally calling it a career. How do you guys feel about Gerald McCoy, 6-time Pro Bowler, man? Just was a great player, especially his years with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's kind of, injuries caught up to him, and he's been moved around a few different teams the last couple of years of his career. Didn't play at all with the Cowboys after he signed. He got injured. Didn't really play much with the Raiders either after he signed with them and getting injured. So, he finished up in Carolina here. But Gerald McCoy definitely one of the to me, he was a great player of his era at his position. Defensive tackle. How do you guys feel about Gerald McCoy? How you feel about maybe potentially seeing him enshrined in Canton one day, man? I think that dude was absolutely phenomenal, especially his years in Tampa Bay, man. Just by the opinions on Gerald McCoy.
I mean, the scary part is he wasn't even the best defensive tackle in his draft because I think Ndamukong Suh was better than him. And they're both terrific defensive tackles. Remember, you had Ndamukong Suh and Gerald McCoy coming out of that same.
Coming out of college, he was.
Coming out of college,
But I think
was a pro.
NFL career is not even. I don't think it's an NFL career. I don't think it's even close. What they accomplished in the NFL. I think Gerald McCoy was far exceeded Ndamukong Suh in the NFL. I believe personally.
Suh was the most dominant defensive tackle in the beginning of his career.
Suh should have been. Suh should have won the Heisman Trophy coming out of college. That's how good he was. He got gypped for the Heisman Trophy. He was absolutely the best player in college football that last year in college in Nebraska. But Gerald McCoy was just consistent those years in Tampa Bay, man. Just until the injury started catching up to him, man. This guy was a phenomenal force.
Oh, they both. Yeah, he was. He was a terrific player.
I would say that he's a borderline Hall of Famer. He's going to be a good player, very good player for his era. He dominated some parts. He was one of the top defensive tackles. When Ndamukong Suh came out, I thought that guy was going straight to Canton, Ohio. The way he played, the way that he came on as gangbusters.
Exactly.
McCoy was very solid. I don't think he came out like that. Now, I'm not taking anything away. I'm not saying he won't be in the Hall of Fame because criteria change, classes change. If he comes in, in the next 5 years and he has a weak class, he might get in for what he's done. I don't know if he's a game changer, but he definitely is a top player at his position, and he definitely was one of the top in the league. I think you could argue that guys like him are the reason why you have guys like Aaron Donald, right? You have guys like, those type of players. I mean, he's 300 pounds. He's 6'4". He moved like a cat. He was a third overall pick. He did what he needed to do for Tampa Bay. He was not the reason that team stunk. But, it's good. It's good to see. We'll see him call it a career. It's good to see him call it a career. Let's hope it's a career, because let's hope not some team like the Eagles call him up and say, hey, listen, man, we'll throw you $2 million to come in here and rush the passer for a few weeks. But let's see. Carolina has a new direction. That's the team that he was last on, like you said, and we'll see where he goes from here. But Gerald McCoy, it was fun watching you, and you will be missed.
I mean, both of them had terrific careers. Just to go over, he had 59.5 sacks in his career with 24 passes deflected, 6 forced fumbles, 4 fumble recoveries, and 334 tackles. I didn't think Suh was this good, but 600 tackles, 71.5 sacks, 38 pass deflections, 1 interception. He's a Hall of Famer. You might as well throw Ndamukong Suh in the Hall of Fame right now. Those are Hall of Fame numbers for a defensive tackle.
And Super Bowl champion.
Yep.
And Super Bowl champion. So
both of them are Hall of Famers.
Right. Well, I mean, if you're telling me now, I think Suh goes in right now over McCoy just because of the career he had. I mean, I think what happened when he went down to Miami, well, what happens when everyone gets paid that goes down to Miami, he slacked off.
That's Dante Culpepper.
He slacked off down there, and that's why you don't see the numbers that he did. But then the guy comes in for Tampa Bay and absolutely destroys changes that whole defense. Devin White's a monster when he comes in, and you wonder why Devin White was the guy that he was, and he hasn't been that guy since he's left, right? So Ndamukong Suh gets that credit. I think Ndamukong Suh kind of changed the game a little bit in terms of pass rushing defensive tackles, because remember in 2010 when he came in that draft, and around that time, I think it was 2010, he was a difference maker, because from Nebraska they never seen a guy like this. They never seen a guy literally fold guys in half as a defensive tackle. And there's been good ones. John Randall's one, Cortez Kennedy, but they weren't doing it to the level that no one's going to touch John Randall in terms of sack numbers. That guy was relentless. But in terms of overall big guys, Ndamukong Suh was that guy that you've never seen before.
You think Aaron Donald might touch? You think Aaron Donald might get close to him?
Aaron Donald is the only guy that I would compare to John Randall, and I think John Randall was a better player than Aaron Donald, and that's no slight on John Randall. No slight on Aaron Donald at all. I think Aaron Donald benefits. See, the thing about Aaron Donald that is so fascinating is that he's so small, right? So his leverage point is really it. He does do that power clean very well, right? When you have that power, you can go up and really take a guard out. Remind you, guards are usually the least athletic player. No offense to anybody who played guard on the panel on the line, right? They're not usually the best ones. Like you put your tackle out there, you want the footwork, you want them to be able to keep up with these rushers and have power. So then you put a guy like Aaron Donald, who probably in another era plays defensive end at 283, But the Rams decided to keep him where he was, which I think is a brilliant move. Sometimes when you take guys and you move them too much around, you stunt their growth. What is that? It's called a jack of all trades, but a master of none, or something like that. Or master of all things. When you know what I'm talking about.
No, jack of all trades and master of none. That's what it is.
Exactly, right. But now he comes in, and all he has to do is focus on the defensive tackle, and that's why Aaron Donald is such an anomaly, and that's why that Clancy kid is interesting too. Now, I don't see the problem is here's what's going to happen. We put a name to Clancy, and I know I went off on a tangent here, but you put a name to Clancy like Aaron Donald. What's going to happen is if he doesn't live up to the Aaron Donald name, you're going to have to compare him with that. And that's what people need to do when they do these player comps is make sure you're comping. What are you comping at? Okay, he has similar traits to Aaron Donald. He has similar features to Aaron Donald. Will he have the career? No. But what the problem is that now that we're putting that on some of these guys, it follows them around. Like Leonard Williams, case in point. Leonard Williams, I hate to say it, is what Leonard Williams is from the Jets. Okay, he was a good pass rusher. He's a disruptor, but he's not a sack guy. He just is not. And that's just who he is. And if you can accept who he is and not say, hey, well, we need him to be this guy, you'll get the results you're looking for. And that's just me. I'm sorry I went off on this tangent.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, I'll just say real fast. Shout out to Gerald McCoy. You know what I'm saying? I remember him most of his Tampa Bay days. I believe in his prime of his career, he was averaging close to 10 sacks a season. And not only that, it's not about even sacks, just he was a disruptor, In his prime of his career, I remember watching him on Tampa Bay and having him, just disrupt the defensive, the offensive line of the opposing team. So, shout out to Gerald McCoy.
That's a good point you make about it being a disruptor. People don't see that because the sacks are so in your face, right? Mm-hmm. And that's how we define a lot of our players.
Yeah, it's always about the sack numbers. It's not really about what they do in the middle of the play. When they get the pressure on the quarterback, they're doing well against the run game. It's always about the sacks, and you have to think about it. Defensive tackles, they're more important to the game than just sacks.
Absolutely.
They get the pressure on the field. They might not get the quarterback down, but if they get enough pressure on the inside, it could cause the quarterback to make a bad throw, and it leads to an interception or a fumble. So, yeah, great
absolutely.
Well, thank you. My last thing about it.
No, you're good. I was gonna say in that, he's not gonna be a first ballot, but it does have some talks because also being a disruptor, you have the respect of your peers, the people that you play with. And sometimes, later on down the line, who knows? Later on down the lines, when the Hall of Fame comes asking, the players is what matters. So being a disruptor, that might damn well get him into the Hall of Fame. Go right ahead, man.
Well, no, I don't think that's just I think what he did on the field. I think you have to understand that if it wasn't for the injuries to Gerald McCoy, who knows what his numbers would look like right now? The injuries completely disrupted his career. I mean, it is what it is, and it's unfortunate, and it happens to the best of them. But that's clearly what disrupted this man's career. I mean, he could still be playing at a high level now, possibly, if it weren't for all the damn injuries piling up the way they did. I mean, he pretty much. I'm not sure exactly how old he is, but he's 35. If it weren't for all the injuries to Gerald McCoy, man, that just completely disrupted his career, man. Like he was balling at a very high level. He was one of the very best at what he did in this league. And then just one injury after another, man. And I mean, not just little injuries, season-ending injuries is what he was getting. He was getting major season-ending injuries, and it just ruined him. So he started moving around to a few. Like I said, he signed with the Cowboys. He signed with the Cowboys. It looked like a great signing for the Cowboys. And then he got injured in training camp and didn't play a down for the Cowboys, So it just how it breaks, how it goes for some people had that luck. But shout out to Gerald McCoy, man. I personally hope he gets into the Hall of Fame one day. You're right. He probably won't be a first ballot Hall of Famer by no means, but hopefully he does get in one day because I think he deserves. You saw to track his career, you saw where his career was headed, and it just wasn't for the injuries. Who knows where he'd be? But
Do you think Sue is a
right
first
now I want
round
to
Hall of
take this.
Famer?
I'm not sure either because the same. I mean, he was dominant in Detroit. He absolutely was dominant his years in Detroit. But I feel like it's kind of the consistency tapered off as he started moving around team to team. And Miami, the Rams, Tampa Bay. I mean, now the Eagles. I mean, sure, he's a great player, but I feel like also the same thing can be said. Like with him, it's just that his things started tapering off as he started moving around. But you cannot deny how dominant he was, force that he was his years in Detroit. You can't take that away from him at all. But he has not been. He has not been the Detroit version of Ndamukong Suh anywhere else that he's played. So, I mean, he was okay, pretty solid in Miami too. I mean, but he was pretty solid there. But that was like just where it just kind of started getting away, man. But right now, I want to take this moment. I want to give Zion a moment to hop in here, speak about his guy. Max Holloway had a big match last night on the UFC Fight Night card. I know Zion's a big fan of Max Holloway, man. So let you have a moment right now to speak on him, number 2 featherweight in the world.
Absolutely, thank you for that. I'll try to make it as fast as I can. The UFC, Dana White's crazy for having the playoffs, but he did it anyway. Had a UFC in Kansas City. I wanted to point out early on the fight court, I didn't really watch the fights, but I did notice that there was a lot of bad judging and people wasn't agreeing with it. But I do want to take a chance to mention Zach Cummins and Ed Herman, 2 guys that's been fighting in the organization. Ed Herman has appeared on the Ultimate Fighter. He made his debut Ultimate Fighter season 3, and now we're entering season 32. So that being said, he's been on the sport for a while, and also Zach Cummins. To get a knockout over Ed Herman, both in my mind, veterans of the sport, never really fought for the title, but always hovered around entering the top 15 and even sometimes being in the top 15. But both guys retiring on last night, so shout out to both of them. I do want to point out a few victories. Pedro Munoz getting the job done against Chris Gutierrez. Chris Gutierrez was 19-3 and 2 coming into this matchup, and everybody just counted Pedro Munoz out because he was 1-5 in his last 6. But that being said, 1-5 against a lot of ex-champions and a lot of top-tier contenders and top-tier people of the sport, not contenders, but top-tier fighters of the sport. And to be able to come out, there was a lot of shutting down last night. What I mean by that is a lot of young contenders coming out and trying to make a name for themselves. And the one thing I love about the UFC is you got to climb the ladder. It's like Mortal Kombat. You got to climb the ladder. There's no easy fights in the UFC. You got to climb the ladder. And sometimes the way to the champion is guarded by these veterans that don't want to move. Pedro Munoz being one of those veterans to stop, getting the decision victory. Edson Barbosa, one of those other veterans to stop Billy with a TKO knee in the first round, actually, 2 minutes and 37 seconds into the fight. Billy was a fighter coming off 17-4 record, just basically looking like a young fighter, like climbing the ladder. But Barbosa, a veteran of the sport, wasn't gonna have him get it that easily. And it brings me to our main event of the evening. We got Arnold Allen never losing in the UFC, undefeated, I believe, for the past, I would say, 9 years now, undefeated for the past 9 years. His last loss, I believe, was in 2014. Basically on a roll. I believe 10-0 in the UFC. Hasn't lost in the organization since his loss. So basically never lost in the UFC. And then going against a veteran in Max Holloway, my favorite fighter in the game right now, next to some others. Reason being is Max Holloway shows it again why he is one of the best. And reason why a lot of fans respect Max Holloway is because outside of the title fights, yes, he is 0-3 against the champion in Alex. Alex has shown almost to defeat Islam that Alex is game. Alex is one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the world. And, sometimes, you can't be the best at the moment. Alex is clearly the best right now in the division, and he's been proving it time after time. But Max Holloway has proven again on why he's, it's hard in the featherweight division to get a title shot against Alex because somewhat you got to go through Max and even Yo Rodriguez. I mean, like it's kind of easy because you can go out there and have an easy performance and a great performance, but Max has just been shutting down these contenders, and even Yo Rodriguez, the guy that's fighting for the title right now, that is going to go against Alex. He lost against Max, so Max just beat him, and then he won the fight, and then since basically the featherweight division is you have so much high tier contenders that's taken out these young competitions, but these high tier contenders are losing to Alex. It just makes the drainage of opponents. I think Max, when the next out is probably gonna go be Korean Zombie, just because Max has kind of just became like a legend of the sport, kind of like a Nate Diaz figure. You know what I'm saying? A prize fighter, would you say? He's just gonna want to fight the best of the best, and Korean Zombie's clearly not the best of the best. But that being said, he has been around since Max generation. They came up in the same generation, and Korean Zombie wants that fight. So I think Max is not the kind of person to wait on the fight. I think he goes out there and he fights Zombie. I don't want to say that it's going to be an easy out for Max, even though Max is probably the toughest opponent that Korean Zombie has ever faced outside of the chap in Alex. I can't wait to see that fight, and I can't wait to see these upcoming fights. We'll get to that soon on another show, but it was a great event, and yeah, it was a good one, and Max got the victory, decision over Arnold. And I wouldn't want to end by saying this: Arnold, he did look good last night, and he's young. You know what I'm saying? He's only 29. He's 19-2 now after that loss, and there's a long way to go. Like you don't take losses in MMA, you take lessons, and he's gonna be one of the best. You can really tell with his style, and it's just hard. It's really hard in the UFC to eclipse that top. That being said, right back, the mic is yours, Mac.
Good stuff, Zion. Good stuff. And that was a good performance by Max Holloway last night. Arnold was definitely game, gave him everything he had, man. But at the end of the day, I got outworked. That's pretty much what it came down to. He just got outworked by an all-time great, Max Holloway. So we'll see what happens. We'll see going forward, and I'm ready to see Max Holloway get on another title run myself, man. I think he's got one more good one in him. Get him back in the octagon, get him another title shot, man. Let's see what happens, man. I'm all for that. But we're gonna move on now, man, to let's go to Major League Baseball, man. It's been popping off a little bit. Another week into the season. New York Mets just completing a 3-game sweep to start this road trip out west against the Oakland Athletics, man. Came out firing Friday night. 17 runs, man. Pete Alonso's leading 8th home run today, man. In today's game, Francisco Lindor's bat is absolutely waking up. It's this Mets team, man. They're starting to get like they're putting it together a little bit, trying to figure something out as they get ready to go start a 3-game set against the Dodgers tomorrow night. You want to talk about them, Jeff?
I mean, the best news that came out of this whole entire series is that dude from AAA Syracuse, who's been lighting it up in AAA this entire time. Mets fans have been screaming for him. Mets fans, you're going to get your wish. Mr. Brett Beatty is on his way. He just got the call up from AAA after he's been batting over a 1 OPS, 325. He's been knocking the ball out of the park this entire time. He's going to be coming in because, let's just be honest, Eduardo Escobar, you're a good dude, you're a good clubhouse guy, but it's Brett Beatty's job. So he's coming up. He's going to be taking over at third base, but Alonso with another home run today. Brandon Nimmo, who I love on this team, his bat has come to life all of a sudden. He made a phenomenal defensive play in this game today. I love Nimmo. I mean, I want McNeil to start getting it going a little bit. He's off to sort of a slow start this season. I mean, Lindor's getting it going. Alvarez has sort of been off to a tough start. I think he's like, that rookie jitters a little bit with him. He's still only 21, 22 years old. But Mets needed to come out in this weekend, and they need to take care of business against a team. Let's just be honest. The Oakland Athletics are a disaster. The Mets needed to at least win 2 out of 3, but they should have swept. And luckily, they got that done today. Jose Budo, who just got called up from AAA, went out there and he pitched 5 innings of only giving up 1-run ball. And then the bullpen took care of their job the rest of this game. And the Mets were able to win this game in extras 4-3. So great job by the New York Mets getting contributions up and down that lineup. Now you're going to get that youthful infusion into this lineup that badly needs it because Vogelback has been a disaster. I mean, Escobar's been a disaster. Canna, besides a couple of home runs, he's been a disaster. There's so many holes in this lineup. Get the kids up here already. Beatty's up here. You got Alvarez up here. I would not be shocked if Vientos and Mauricio are up on the way. Scherzer, obviously, he's not going to be pitching until Wednesday. He had to have his start pushed back. Verlander, though, looks like he might be on his way soon. Kodai Senga had a rough start, his last start, but he's mainly pitched well. I think the bullpen has actually been doing a pretty good job so far, albeit without Edwin Diaz, who now he's saying he might decide to come back at the end of the season. I don't see it. I don't know if you see it that way, Mac. I don't see Diaz coming back, but crazier things have happened in sports.
No way.
So
No way.
I don't see it either, but he's going to push.
He might be hopeful in his own mind, but no way.
No
way.
Maybe the World Series, if that. That's the best chance they're going to get to see him is if the Mets make it to the World Series. But they need to take care of business against the Oakland Athletics. They did that. They swept them away. Now you're going to get to the toughest part of the schedule, and that's the next 7 games against the Dodgers and then a 4-game stretch against the Giants. So Mets have got to go out there and continue to handle their business. And now they're 10-6. Pitching staff still worries me a little bit. Offense, I think, is going to get that youthful injection that they need. But either way, good job by the Mets. Brandon Nimmo, great to see you starting to heat up with that bat and the glove. Alonso just keeps socking that ball out of the park, and it's going to be so good to see Beatty in that lineup day in and day out. Adam, how about them Yankees?
How about them, baby? 10-6. They beat the Twins today. Unfortunately, our man Stanton is out, which is typical. He's always going to be. You might as well just put him on a 15-day DL on every year. I mean, they should have marked some of his salary for a 15-day DL. Because that's what he is. I don't think it's going to change the Yankees too much. I mean, Volpe is playing pretty well right now too. He's stealing some bases. He's looking pretty good out there. I think the Yankees are trucking along, right? They're gonna win some games 10-6. I know the last guy told me it wasn't a hot start, but the Mets are 10-6, and the Mets fans are happy about being 10-6. So I think the Yankees are right where they need to be. Just keep plugging along and get through it. The problem with the Yankees every year has been injuries. That's one of their problems. Is every year they have injuries, and not just to key guys. To Stanton is a big guy in your lineup. He's one of the guys in your lineup that kind of sets that lineup in there, right? He kind of is one of your lethal weapons. And so to have him in and out of the lineup every year, it's just tough stuff, man. I know that they step up. The Yankees do what they do. Boone, makes the right decisions, and they're getting through. See? That's
it's tough on them, but I gotta say, Garrett Cole has been unbelievable so far to start. This year.
I get what he's saying. You want a World Series. I mean, I get that, but Rome wasn't built in a day.
So do we.
Rome wasn't built in a day. So I mean, I understand that you're being hard on the team, but let's be honest. I'm hard on this Yankee team because obviously it's not about the regular season; it's the postseason, and they've done terrible in the postseason in the last few years, right? If their bats don't go, they don't have any way to manufacture offense, which is clearly still the problem when you're leaving runners on base, right? That's what it is. When you leave runners on base, the Yankees have a problem manufacturing runs. Now, hopefully a guy like Volpe can help boost that when you're stealing bases. That allows you to get more runners. That make a pitcher, throw an errant throw to a second baseman or so, because now he has to worry about this guy, his reputation of stealing, right? He has the most stealing bases since Ichiro Suzuki. So that weapon going forward is going to help the Yankees, and maybe that'll help them get guys off the base. But what has been the Yankees' problem? They're hitting. That's what they do. They're all or nothing type of team usually, and if their big bats don't come to play, they're in trouble. So we'll see. But hey, the Yankees are doing what the Yankees do. They're out to a good start. 10-6 may not be the best for some people, but to me, that's a good start. Just keep winning your games, keep doing what you're doing, and at the end of we're not really no one's gonna care that they started 10-6 if they're winning the World Series at the end of this. You know what I mean?
You're also missing some of your best players on your team,
I
too.
just think
You don't have Rodon. Wait until Rodon gets back, and wait until you see your pitchers get back. You're without Rodon and Severino. And I think you got Garrett Cole looks like the old Garrett Cole. That's the best thing for the Yankees right now, is that Garrett Cole looks like that same dominant pitcher he was with the Houston Astros. That's how good Garrett Cole looks right now. That's a great sign.
Let me ask this: if the 500 teams that you lost to, are they in a series? Did you win the series but lost to a 500 ball club? Because right now you have a winning record. You could be 6-10, and then maybe you'd have something to worry about with all the injuries. The fact that they're getting through these games, regardless of how ugly it is. I mean, like, we think about the mentality. If you're a Giant fan and we went through all those injuries and we still end up in the playoffs, it doesn't matter that we, had that. Usually you're talking about the opposite end. You have these injuries and your team's not performing, and before you know it, you're spiraling out of control because you can't catch up with what you've done, which is usually what the Mets case is. They usually start off and struggle and then can't catch up. So for them to be here, it's good.
We start off strong, and then we start screwing up there in the middle towards the end of the season. That's when we start messing up. We always get off to hot starts, but it's towards the end of the season when the Mets start falling.
I think the point he's making, no Mets, no Nets, no Jets. If I can, I don't know. I don't want to put words in his mouth, obviously, but I mean, it's the New York, obviously, in all the major sports have at least two teams in that city. Obviously we got Mets, Yankees, Giants, Jets, the Rangers, Islanders, you got the Knicks, you got the Nets. And there's obviously a different standard for these teams. There's the Giants are held to a higher standard than the Jets. The Yankees are, I'm a Mets fan, but I got to keep it real. The Yankees are held to a higher standard than the Mets. It just is what it is. The Rangers are held to a higher standard than the Islanders. It's just the reality of the situation. So I think he's just making a point. It's just that there's a different, even though they have a winning record.
I understand the mindset of New York. I get it, but what do you want them to be 16-0 and guns a-blazing? I mean, what Yankee fans need to know is we're built for the postseason. We don't care about the regular season. We need to win World Series titles. No one's going to care about that your quote unquote non-hot start is not hot. The Yankees are doing what they need to do. Keep a winning record, and let the chips fall where they may. Once they do that and you're in the regular season, let your bats come alive. The Yankees the last few years, problems have been their pitching has gone stagnant, and then when they have gone stagnant and have met teams that have ways to manufacture runs, they struggle. Why? Because they leave batters on there. They can't advance runners if their big guys aren't setting up their offense. I get it. I understand it. All I'm saying is, maybe it's not the hottest start of their seasons at all, but the Yankees are doing what the Yankees are supposed to be doing. That's all.
Zion, there's just an update on Tyler.
It's like the Mets.
He's going to be out. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks with a broken middle finger and a ring finger. So they just reported that Tyler Hero's out 4 to X weeks.
I just said that. No mess.
Essentially,
they've done nothing.
Thank you for the update, Jeff.
No problem.
But like I was saying, the Mets, for instance, the last 10 games, 7-3. The only problem with that is the damn Atlanta Braves have also been 7-3 in the last 10 games. So it's just even though the Mets have been playing good baseball as of late, the Braves haven't took their foot off the gas either. So it's just they haven't really been able to gain any ground.
The Phillies have been scoring like 12 runs a game now. And that team just beat the hell out of their opponent again. They won 17 runs today.
I mean, baseball is a marathon, not a sprint. Mm-hmm. So again, we're talking about April. I'm not really worried about April as much, even though I think having a winning record is solid to start with the injuries that are mounting on this team. Whether you want to hold them to a higher standard, that's fine. I get it. But at the end of the year, I'm not trying to give them fake praise. I'm just talking about right now. Right, I already said there are troubles in the playoffs the last few years. I mean, let's be honest. They are the Bronx Bombers for a reason. This team under Aaron Boone has lived that mantra since he's been there. They don't manufacture runs. That's what they do. They do. I shouldn't say they don't manufacture runs. They score runs, but if their big guys aren't hitting and hitting balls out of the park and driving balls, into the outfield, they don't have the same offensive firepower. They can't just, hey, let's get guys on base and do that. I understand that. But for right now, if they can get through it, get their guys back, you know what? Maybe being up a couple games, maybe having a 10-win start to the season will help you down the stretch. I get it. It's April. Let's talk about this in July.
I'm not excited. Trust me, I'm not jumping for joy about the Mets sweeping the Oakland Athletics too. Let's just be real. They beat a 3-win team. The Mets have got to show a lot more right now. They're just beating a team that honestly should be a minor league baseball team at this point. So go out there and win 2 out of 3 against the LA Dodgers. Then I'll be impressed. Right now, take care of your business. It's early on. Baseball is all about streaks. You get hot streaks, you got cold streaks. It's like you just said, Adam, it's a marathon. You're going to get these twists and turns all throughout the season. It's all going to depend on how you do at the end.
The Mets, though, it's avoiding the collapse. That's what the Mets have to do because, every year the Mets are in it at the beginning and then towards the middle of the season, which happened last year, they get injuries and they tend to kind of go on a slump and then they can't get out of their slump. You know what I'm saying? The Mets have to this year kind of weather those storms better, get out of those slumps. Don't make them 10-game skids, make them 2 or 3 games, pick up games here. The way you beat those lulls is win these games now and go forward. Don't care about if they're beating a JV team or not. They're beating that JV team. I'd be more concerned if they were losing to that squad. You know what I mean? Then I'd be like, oh crap.
Oh yeah, a win is a win. I'll take a win any way we can get it. Absolutely.
So right now, I get you'll be more impressed with the Dodgers, and maybe it'll be their night and their bats will come alive. But just for me, if I'm a Met fan, let's just ride the course. Let's get through the summer, and then once we get through the midpoint once we get through that, late July, early August, we can start to gear up for the playoffs. That's when we're really going to be like, okay, cool, we weathered the storm. Because that's what's been the problem with the Mets is just they get there, and then it's just tough for them to hold that, and then injuries happen and they can't overcome. I mean, I like Buck Showalter. I like what he's done with your ball club. I think I think if the ownership lets him build, he's going to build a solid club, and you'll reap your benefits as your team grows.
I mean, you have to think about it too, real quickly. Both teams, the Yankees and the Mets, are pitching. They haven't had their star pitchers even pitch yet. Each team's major acquisition have not even pitched a game yet. Verlander and Rodon are both out with injury. So I mean, you're still without some of your top pitchers on each team. Yeah, right. Both teams are essentially missing one of their aces. I mean, I know Cole is probably the ace of the Yankees, and you could say Scherzer, even though he's not been great this year, he's the ace of the Mets. I mean, both teams are missing 2/5 of their starting rotation. Obviously, you guys are without Severino, and we're without Quintana. So wait until everybody gets healthy. That matters. Really see. Yeah, wait until you get everybody healthy, and then you really get to see what this team can do.
And we shall see. We shall see, man. But good baseball stuff, fellas. Good baseball stuff. And we go move on to the week in wrestling, man. WWE, AEW, man. Week in review here, man. It's WWE is still making me, I'm not sure what to think, man. To another couple of lackluster shows again this week, man. Nothing to get excited about. Raw and SmackDown, nothing at all. I don't even know. We finally saw the heel turn of Trish Stratus on Monday Night Raw, turning on Becky Lynch.
So bad.
And the tag
that was
team,
so
after dropping the tag team titles.
Terrible.
With no real explanation, as they then show Trish Stratus in the backstage spot, just walking away from I'm not kidding, whoever it was, Kathy Kelly, Mackenzie, whoever the hell was trying to
Kathy Kelly,
just walking away, just walking away, ignoring her. So we have no explanation on that. The Bloodline saga, they're just finding a way to try to keep dangling it out there at us. Now it's gotten Matt Riddle fully involved as he took a beat down Friday night on SmackDown, courtesy of Solo Sikoa and the Bloodline. And I don't know. I mean, right now, AEW just excites me a lot more with what they're doing in the ring. I mean, what we saw on Dynamite on Wednesday night, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks coming back and finally giving the Blackpool Combat a little taste of their own medicine a little bit. We almost got another screwdriver spot on Kenny Omega if he would have got Moxley with that screwdriver.
Love
man.
this feud.
I just
Love
can't
this
imagine,
feud.
man. But it's they're doing some good things over there in AEW, making it real exciting. WWE, you got to figure it out, man, and catch back up because it's been pretty bad since the last couple of weeks since WrestleMania. It's been pretty lackluster. How you feel about it, Jeff?
WWE doesn't really do anything. So
was that not one of the worst heel turns you've ever seen with Trish Stratus?
It was dumb because are they freebirding the titles? Because if they were a faction like New Day and anyone could lose the strap, I get it. But she was just kind of their sidekick. It wasn't. I didn't think that they were a full team, so I didn't think they could lose the titles like that.
No. But once they showed the backstage,
well, she was representing. She was taking Lita's place.
Yeah, but I still feel
Lita
like
got jumped in the back. It was female. Pretty much know that must have been Trish Stratus as well.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's
but I'm saying, but like, it's. I get it. They're going to try to set up Trish Stratus and Lita for some main event, but I think the New Day makes more sense when you talk about, hey, Big E's injured. Kofi Kingston's going to go in and fight with Xavier Woods. That makes sense because they're a team. She's like, oh, I'm going to step in. I think you should never lose a title like that. They should have had a tag match, and she should have turned on them anyways or something like that, but not been able to lose the titles. I just think it's a stupid way to make them heel turn. You could have cost them the titles. That would have been even easier. You didn't need to injure Lita to do what they did. That's all I'm saying.
You know what's going to make everybody excited? You know the guy that's going to win the Money in the Bank? Yeah! Let me talk to you! Yeah! LA Knight is going to be winning that briefcase.
I hope so.
He's going to be Mr. Money in the Bank. And that's what we need in
but
this
who's
wrestling.
He going to cash in on? Who's he going to cash in on? It'd have to be like the only way it works is Cody Rhodes.
You got me on that one. That's
because
I don't know.
Like because you have him win, but like to me it's like this. This is why you need to drop the strap from Roman Reigns so we can have storylines finally develop. What's stifling the product is the fact that you have a champion who has had the title for this long. It doesn't allow your stars like a Cody. Cody has to now go have a match with Brock Lesnar. Like, give me a break. Like, what is happening here? Next thing you know, Goldberg is going to come out and he's going to have to fight Goldberg.
No.
You know what I mean?
No. Don't even bring that name back up because Vince will hear it and he will hire him back. And then we'll have
I'm just saying. That's what they're going to do. They're going to make him run the gauntlet. And it's like, all right, what are you doing with Roman Reigns' character? He hasn't developed. The bloodline doesn't have the titles. They're not as powerful. I don't care about we're still the bloodline. You're nothing. All right? You're nothing. Move on. Get to the back of the line. We've seen this already. Okay? Let's go. If you want to say Solo Sikoa, do something. Let me see him do something. I'm just sick and tired of seeing Roman Reigns. And this is what happened to the WWE when they gave the title to Triple H every year. All right. He had it 13 times in that Attitude Era. And in that Attitude Era, it was a stagnant storyline. Even though he was in the Evolution, it just was, they would always put the strap on him and you could never get guys to grow. Right. And then when Evolution broke up and you had more guys to fight with Triple H, such as a Batista, such as a Randy Orton, well, guess what? The product became good again. If you keep doing what they're doing with Roman Reigns and you keep having him beat everybody, there's not going to be anybody on the roster. What, we're going to wait for AJ Styles to come back and have him get his ass kicked by Roman Reigns?
No, you got Shinsuke Nakamura, who just came back. Nakamura is probably going to be sacrificed to Roman Reigns next.
Right. And he should be.
I was scary since you just brought him up. Y'all just brought Shinsuke up, and that was something I wanted to talk about. That was, to me, my personal highlight of SmackDown. Was them hitting after Shinsuke's match with Madcap Moss after he just destroyed Madcap Moss in like 2 minutes. It was they went show backstage Scarlett with the little tarot card, Shinsuke Nakamura hitting at a carrying cross, Shinsuke Nakamura type of feud, and I'm on board with that if they actually follow through. because they seem to have a problem following through with anything that concerns Karrion Kross for some reason or another. They just seem to not. They'll hint some things and then they just don't follow through with anything. Shinsuke, Karrion Kross, that'll be great TV if they can actually develop that into a nice little feud. I would love to see that. That's something perfect for Shinsuke coming back, but we'll have to wait and see because I just have no trust in WWE whatsoever. So we'll see how
I don't trust it, Mac. Mac, I don't trust it because what you're sacrificing is Karrion Kross really in a position where he's going to beat Shinsuke Nakamura, who's been out for months, and he's going to come back and he's going to lose. You're putting Karrion Kross in a bad situation. He's like the guy that's being sacrificed for Nakamura coming back. This is going to help Kross. Kross is just going to be like the dude that's just the stepping stone for Nakamura until he eventually goes against Roman. That's all it really is. I think it's the feud might be good, but it's not a good spot for Kross. I think this is not a good pairing immediately. Both guys need to win. Both guys need to get built up, and essentially one of them is going to get knocked down even more. Either Shinsuke is going to get knocked down right when he comes back after being gone pretty much all year, or Karrion Kross, who has been absolutely just booked to oblivion. He's been out of the picture the entire time. He's going to get booked even worse. So I don't like the two of them feuding with one another immediately. Hopefully the feud can maybe make it interesting, but both these guys need to win. I wouldn't have booked them against each other this early. That's just my opinion, though.
And then AEW Dynamite, this is a fair opinion. AEW Dynamite, we had another big return on AEW Dynamite this past Wednesday. Jeff Hardy is back in action in the ring, came out to rescue his brother from the Firm, from a beatdown by the Firm faction. How you feel about Jeff Hardy returning to the ring, man?
I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel. I don't know how to feel about Jeff Hardy at this point. I mean, what are you excited for a Firm versus Hardys and like the Hardy Enterprise? I think it's gonna be fun to watch. It'll bring back that nostalgic feeling, but I don't know. Like I'm sort of with the point with the Hardys is like I honestly rather see them more in like a backstage role at this point than seeing Jeff go out there and like kill himself on the outside in the ring. Like I don't know how I feel about this. I'm sort of conflicted because I love Jeff Hardy, everything that he's gotten. I hope he's 100% healthy. That's the most important thing about this whole situation is Jeff Hardy is 100% good. He's healthy. He's 100% back and committed, but I don't know how I feel about this because the Firm has really been just they haven't been booked so great either. And I mean Hook, I love Hook. I mean, this is going to be a great way to get Hook over even more when you pair him up with the Hardys. But I'm just happy to see Hardy healthy, Hardy back on television, Hardy being able to do what he does. But I don't know how I truly feel. If you think I'm being too harsh about it, just let me know.
I don't think you're being harsh at all about it. I think my real opinion on Jeff Hardy's situation is not anything about what he can do physically in the ring. Clearly know what he can do physically. I want to make sure he's mentally able to handle everything that goes with what he's doing. You know, clearly he's had major issues with substance abuse. These things are just more important in life, you know, and I just hope he's actually prepared and ready to be back on the road and be around some, you know, bad influences and things that could trigger him to maybe fall slip back again. I don't want to see any more videos of Jeff Hardy on YouTube getting pulled over by the police, getting sobriety tests and all. I just don't want to see another video like that of Jeff Hardy. You know, unfortunately, that's what we've been, you know, what we've been seeing from Jeff Hardy lately. And I mean, his recent history has been the reason he was out for so much time had nothing to do with like an injury. It was just because he keeps having to slip. He keeps slipping up, man. Keeps relapsing, and I just hope that if he's coming back, and I hope he's really fully prepared. And I mean, maybe his brother may be there a little bit more for him this time around. This go around, help keep him steer him clear of all the nonsense, all the bad things in his life. But we'll see, man. Jeff Hardy, he's obviously one of the best to ever put on a pair of boots, man, in the ring, man. And it's just hope he's mentally ready for to be back in the ring, because it's like I said, he obviously is physically able to get the job done, physically ready, physically able. It's more about his mental and his ability to not slip up, man. And it's critical at this point because he's obviously this has to be a last opportunity also as well. So he has to be prepared to take full advantage of that. And I just want to just keep an eye on it, keep something worth monitoring. I really can't care less about a Hardy's firm feud. I can care less about any of that, honestly. I just care about Jeff Hardy, the man himself. And I hope that he's ready to do everything he has to do to keep himself clean.
It's like our youth too. I mean, Adam, myself, and you, Mac, we grew up watching this dude and the Hardy Boys, everything they did in the 90s. Like, this is our youth, like seeing Jeff Hardy out there. And it hurts seeing somebody like him go through all the demons that he's had to battle through over all these years. You just want to see him be healthy. You want to see him be good. You want to see him be able to go out there and just be in a good state. And I think Tony Khan is one of those types of bosses that is going to be doing what's best for Jeff Hardy. He could have easily fired him and just let him go, but he did what he could to help out Jeff Hardy and his family. And I appreciate something like that for what Tony Khan has done, is that he didn't just cast him off to the side. He was there for him when Jeff Hardy needed this kind of help from your boss. And I wish the best for Jeff Hardy, because I agree with you. I don't want to hear about another one of these incidents happening, because there's just been way too much. And just do whatever's best for you, Jeff. If the best thing for you at one point is to eventually just call it quits and just walk away, just do what's best for like yourself. Don't worry about entertaining us. You've done that enough over these past 25, 30 years. Go ahead, Adam.
I mean, I love Jeff Hardy, and it's sad to see when he has a beacon of my era of wrestling. You know, I'll never forget them and Edge and Christian, you know, doing the ladder matches and you know, and the Dudley's Swanton bomb off of the scaffolding in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
You know, he's part of me. Jeff Hardy comes back, I get goosebumps, you know, hearing that music playing, just because I know something's going down. Something crazy is about to happen. So, you know, he's going to make me tune into Dynamite, that's for sure, because he's one of my favorites of all time. You know, I always had I liked him more than his brother when he was singles competition. He ascended a little further than his brother in terms of, you know, winning some matches, I think he even won a heavyweight title at some point in his time.
Yeah.
So, you know, like he was clearly the star of the two, even when they were together. You know, Matt's carved his own role. You know, I think what killed Matt Hardy obviously was the version 2.0 was not a good gimmick. I think that's what killed his gimmick. He's rebuilt his brand, but let's hope that, you know, Jeff does what he needs to do and stays on the straight and narrow. Sometimes having your brother around may help, just because he can be like, hey, bro, you know, like, don't do that. You know, you don't know what happens with Vince McMahon and the pressures that go on. Also, the demons that go on in your life, you know, things trigger that, you know, whether it's a bad day at the office, whether it's, you know, a bad match, something like that. And Hardy's been chronicled. Jeff, you know his plights. I mean, there's a documentary out there where he's like, yo, I'm lost in certain events, like literally couldn't even get to the ring and do his thing. AEW has welcomed him back, and they have done that with many stars. Let's hope he keeps it going, because I think he's an asset to the rest. Just like when Edge came back, he's an asset. He's an asset that we need. He's an asset that we tend to forget, and he's a guy that can come in and steal the show with one match.
I will say one thing too. I'm excited to see what they're going to be doing with Christian and Luchasaurus. This whatever they're going on with Christian and Luchasaurus, it's got my ears perked up, because those little vignettes they've been doing with those two, they got something serious coming up with Luchasaurus and Christian. So that's another thing. And I believe, I don't know how you guys feel, I think we're getting blood and guts between the Elite and the Blackpool Combat Club. I think that's where that is going. We're getting blood and guts between those two teams, because it's the only thing that makes sense. That's the best thing on that show. You could argue that or the Four Pillars right now, which is just MJF did it again. Him and Darby Allin had a phenomenal promo back and forth along with Sting. But I mean, the Four Pillars stuff, and then the Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite is some of the best storyline television. You want storylines? You got storylines right there. Two great ones in AEW. So I think that those two groups, I don't know how you think about it, Mac and Adam, but I think we're getting blood and guts between Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite, and I think it could happen at All In.
That's what like it's building up to, man. Everything it's been that the last few weeks, the Blackpool Combat's been running roughshod over AEW in general, but especially the Elite and anybody associated with the Elite. But like I said on Wednesday night on Dynamite, the Elite got the last laugh on Dynamite this past week, man, and let's just keep it going because it's entertaining as hell and it's fun, and I just love seeing these guys absolutely tear each other apart. So it'll be definitely exciting to look at going forward, man.
Are you intrigued by Jericho and Cole, by the way?
I mean, it'll probably be a good match just because it's two top stars. I mean, but it's nothing. I mean, right now we'll see how they continue to build that up. And we'll see what the Keith Lee and Adam Cole angle. We'll see how all that plays out.
Swerve. It's Keith Lee and Swerve, and that's got me excited. Swerve is so good.
Well, Keith Lee and Swerve, but I mean, I'm talking about, with Adam Cole and Keith Lee all of a sudden like being like besties now or whatever, all of a sudden being these like stories coming out of them being really good friends, mutual respect for each other. I'm sure they'll have each other's back going forward for right now for the time being. So
this women's division stuff.
But I'm about to wrap this thing up.
The women's division has been a disaster. But enough with the spray painting stuff. Do something like progress that storyline too.
No, I'm over that. I'm already completely bored with that. That's to me is trash. I think it's absolute trash. It's nothing exciting about it. Doesn't excite me. Doesn't do anything for me.
No, it's like they're waiting for something.
It's not progressing in any. It's not even progressing in any way. It's basically just back and forth with the same girls. You're just beefing with Rio and Sky Blue and like you're just like it's just the same thing. It's like if you feel the way you do, then your anger should be expanded to more of the female locker room, and it's not progressing in any way. So that's just to me, that's a deep story. They need to just go.
Where's Thunder Rosa? Where's Sheeta? Are these women coming back? Get them back in the company, please. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Adam.
But but no, it's about time to get ready. It's 2.5 hours now. About time to get ready to wrap this thing on up. Guys, want to go around with some final thoughts before we close out?
I just want to say, once again, thank you all for coming by another episode of the Premium Take Show. We appreciate all the support that you guys give us every single episode. Shout out to all you guys. Thank you all for being here with us for the past 2.5 hours, and hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. Just want to give a shout out to everybody watching.
I just want to say thanks to the peoples, but also that we're getting one step closer to the NFL draft. All our questions will be answered in about 2 weeks, a little less than that. So as we get closer, you'll hear more rumors and more smoke. But I'm looking forward to it. And wrestling, you suck.
Absolutely. Zion, you got anything?
Yeah, I'm back.
All right.
No, thank you guys all for joining us tonight. And I'm going to let Mac close it out and, bless up all of you guys. And, hope to see you guys soon. Next edition of Premium Takes. Go right ahead, Mac.
Well, all right, everybody, man. Just once again, also like everybody else, just want to thank you guys for tuning in to another edition of the Premium Takes podcast. Thanks for chilling and hanging out with the Four Horsemen for 2.5 hours while we just talk about the sports world, the week in sports, all the latest ongoings, everything, and all around the sports world. Hope keep bringing this to you every Sunday night, man. Hope y'all just keep tuning in. We appreciate the support. Thanks again. This is the Four Horsemen, man. Premium Takes podcast. Pass!